King Adelaide. This is Adelaide's FIVEaa.
Cloudy and 16 today with the 6 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Trust FIVEaa Extra. Norwood, Pirie Street, Marion, Hallicove, Seaford and Victor Harbour. FIVEaAextra.com.
The first state referendum in 3 decades is set to focus on the deregulation of shop trading hours. The Marshall government, which has been flying the flag for the changes, says it's now time for the people to decide. The Treasurer will introduce a new bill to Parliament this week, paving the way for the proposed referendum on the issue at the March 2022 election. Jobs and economic recovery will be a key focus in tonight's federal budget. Nine's Michael Packey reports.
Tonight's budget will outline a series of spending measures to drive jobs and cement Australia's economic recovery after last year's COVID downturn. We know money will be allocated for infrastructure projects, housing, women's health and childcare. The centrepiece will be an $18 billion aged care plan, a roadmap to reopen Australia's international borders sometime next year is also likely to be announced. The government will allocate more than $500 million to make it easier to attract foreign investment and highly skilled overseas workers.
We know cash will be allocated to a number of local road and rail projects, but beyond that, Business SA Chief Martin Hazy says we need to wait and see.
There will be a very strong focus on jobs, infrastructure. We hope there is a focus on renewable energy, digital connectivity, healthcare professionals.
The annual NAPLAN assessment begins today with over 1 million students due to take part. Nine's Sophie Clark has the details.
Data from this year's assessment will be particularly important. It's the first test to take place in 2 years after the pandemic forced the cancellation of last year's program. 70% of schools will participate online in preparation for a full transition to the digital resource in 2022. It's supposed to determine whether or not students in years 3, 5, 7 and 9 are developing their literacy and numeracy skills and better informed decisions about learning improvements.
The British Prime Minister has given the green light for cautious hugging and pints in the pub. Nine's Ben Avery reports from London.
Boris Johnson has confirmed that a planned easing of restrictions can proceed in England from next Monday, with deaths and hospitalisations from COVID-19 now at their lowest levels since last July. It means that pubs, bars and restaurants will be able to serve people indoors, while cinemas and museums will also reopen. The Prime Minister says that hugging will be allowed once again, but that people should still be cautious about social distancing. More than 2/3 of all adults in the UK have now received a dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, while 1/3 of adults have received both jabs.
Israel has launched airstrikes against targets in the Gaza Strip after rockets were fired from the territory toward Jerusalem. The Hamas-run Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza says 20 people have been killed in the strikes. Now to FIVEaa Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
And it's good morning to Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Mel. A big night for Port Adelaide ruckman Scott Lycett when he faces the AFL Tribunal for his tackle on Crows midfielder Ned McHenry. He's expected to miss at least a couple of weeks. The Power with options to replace him, including Peter Laddams and Sam Hayes. Meantime, Richmond coach Damien Hardwick has defended 2 of his players involved in a nightclub fight which left both of them injured. He says the club won't be taking any action against Daniel Rioli and Shai Bolton. The fight broke out at Club Yo-Yo in the city on the weekend after a patron made a disparaging comment about Rioli's girlfriend. Well, confusion and uncertainty still surrounds the location for this month's Champions League final. Nine's Adam Pont explains.
COVID-19, scheduling clashes and national pride, all obstacles to reaching a consensus on where the league's May 29 showpiece between Manchester City and Chelsea should be held. Wembley Stadium and Lisbon are being considered as an alternative to Istanbul, but a meeting overnight between UEFA and the UK government failed to reach a conclusion. The government has placed Turkey on its COVID travel red list, meaning fans cannot travel to the game and would prefer it to be held at the National Stadium. But UEFA is reluctant to move from Istanbul, having already switched last year's final from the country, and Portugal is on the UK green list for travel. The United Kingdom is also unlikely to allow team staff, media and sponsors to travel there without entering quarantine. Wembley is also currently scheduled to host the Championship playoff on the same date, one of the most important fixtures in the Football League calendar.
Sounds like a mess. Meantime, on the field in the EPL, Burnley leads Fulham 2-0 with about 15 minutes to play. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Heading for a top of 16 today and cloudy. Tomorrow sunny and 17. Thursday a shower or two, 18. Right now it's 12 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Ecopia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Tuesday on 5AA Breakfast. Coming up on the show this morning, Phil Curry in the nation's capital ahead of the federal budget that'll be handed down tonight. We'll speak with Nick Xenophon. We finally caught up with him following a decision that's been handed down in the suit regarding the use of the word Ugg in Ugg boots in the United States. And also Health Minister Stephen Wade will join us on the fact that, David Penberthy, you must have secured one of the last remaining spots at the Wayville vaccination hub because they're out. I didn't know the vaccination hub was capable of selling out, but it seems they've sold out of tickets. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Good morning to you. You're up today.
I am. 1:30 this afternoon, getting my AstraZeneca. I don't know if I was one of the last. I reckon I might have been one of the first.
That's what I mean.
Because when I jumped on, it's like a restaurant, a new restaurant opens, and you go on Saturday night and it says, what time do you want? Which sitting? 6:45, 7, 7:15, 7:30. And then what happens is Simon Wilkinson from The Advertiser comes along, gives it 16.5 out of 20, and word gets out, and the next day you go to book and it says the next available sitting is in July. I think what happened, and it might have been, part of it was probably us talking about it on air, because it was only, was it last week or the week before?
I'm sure
I think it was the week before, where during a 7:30 news break, I booked online and I came back on air and said, hey, listen, folks, if you're over 50, and it was the day that they had the QR code on page 2 of The Advertiser with that big double-page spread with a picture of Professor Nicola. And I'm sure, other media were making similar points, and clearly there was a big advertising campaign behind it. But I reckon, as per the interview we did yesterday with the University of Sydney researcher, overwhelmingly, most people go, you beauty, I'm getting it.
Yeah, which is why I find it puzzling that it can be sold out, that there can be no spaces available. And Nicola Spurrier on 7 last night, they ran a story. And she said, well, we needed to see what the demand would be first because there's no point opening it all up and not having demand. Really? It's not. It isn't a restaurant. Oh, that's where that analogy ends, surely. They're not trying to make money out of this. Surely if one person wants to get it, it should be open. It's just got to be open, doesn't it? Isn't it? Isn't the most important thing in the country right now everyone gets vaccinated?
Yep, 100%.
So we can't have people trying to get vaccinated unable. If we don't have the vaccine, that's one thing. That's okay. I get that.
But we've got it. We've got this one.
We've got it. Well, we just don't have slots available.
Is that a personnel thing, I wonder? Is that not enough people to do it? Is it a people management issue where they just can't deal with the volume?
Well, it doesn't sound like
they're doing 30,000.
It feels like a conscious choice. They went, well, this is how much capacity we're going to open up, and we'll see when we fill up. And then they're filled up, which surely shouldn't happen.
They're doing 30,000 a week, or they're going to be doing 30,000 a week in New South Wales, in Sydney. Gladys Berejiklian announced that yesterday. I'm looking forward to getting it done. I don't mind needles. Do you have a needle thing?
No, I used to when I was a kid. I absolutely hated them. But then I was cured. You know where I was cured of it? Going one of the first times I ever went overseas. And
when you go downstairs,
I went downstairs here and I was, I don't know what I would have been, 18 or something or other. And up to that point, I was terrified of needles. And I went there and they honestly, you felt like a corkboard. They put about 5 in me in a space of 10 seconds.
Yeah, I reckon I got everything in there.
There was no.
When I went to Brazil, I was a human pincushion after that.
And they don't seem to have the same sort of. There wasn't. I mean, they did a great job. But they're in the business of really sticking in needles quickly and moving you on to the next person. So it was,
Oh, it's a sausage factory.
It was. So that after I walked out of that, I went, yeah, I think I'm over this problem now.
But the reward though is you're going overseas.
Exactly right. Beauty. It's a good payoff.
Remember that? What a concept. Leaving the country.
Hey, we're going to have continue South Australia's proud tradition of referendums. The state government's put on the agenda. You just heard Mel Usher talking about it in the last couple of minutes. Next state election, the deregulation of shop trading hours. It's been a perennial debate in South Australia. It's now going to be a question that's put to you, the voter. How will you vote? To deregulate shop trading hours or keep the current system? We think we might run it out. We'll do a test referendum over the course of the program this morning.
Yeah.
So between now and 9 o'clock, if you want to call in on 8223 0000, you can text in on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line, or what we'll do is we'll put up a poll on Twitter as well. We'll ask the referendum question. Let's just give it a test run for the next 2.5 hours and see what the 5AA breakfast audience thinks. We had the very first ever referendum in Australia, here in South Australia, had it in 1896, coincided with the very first state election we had, and there was a number of firsts on that day as well. The first time women were able to run for office and vote.
That was even before Australia was a nation.
Yeah, that's right. It's really interesting to go back and read about too. It was about secular schools, about funding of schools and whether they should be religious and there should be religious teaching in it. And it was roundly rejected. They voted to continue on the path where they didn't fund religious schools and they didn't make scripture a mandated part of education.
It's quite enlightening, isn't it?
I
don't mean enlightening in a judgmental way. It's quite a sort of small L liberal position for the 19th century.
It was roundly rejected. There was a massive turnout for the yes vote to the question of should they continue the present system.
The thing that surprises me about the history of referenda is the extent to which so many of the things that we take for granted in South Australia were actually enabled by referendums changing the constitution. So 1982, the referendum was for daylight saving, and 1965, the referendum was for the Lotteries Act. So there'd be no cross lotto without that. In 1915. Almost, or more than 100 years ago, that was, and this must have been a bunch of Methodists, my people getting together to try to curtail the demon drink. That was the referendum that made 6 o'clock the shut-off time for drinking. So that introduced a mandated 6 p.m. closing time for getting on the terps at your local. And it wasn't until Dunstan was in power, famously announced in that amazing photograph of him standing there at the Challa Gardens Hotel. In the 1970s, that was finally repealed by Dunstan.
They don't in Australian history. They don't typically get up. That said, the last one we had in South Australia was 30 years ago. It was 91, and it did, and that was about the redrawing of electoral boundaries after each and every election by the Electoral Commission to try and make sure that the seats ultimately reflected who should have won on the overall two-party basis. That's why we always shift seats. I think last state election, half of the people in South Australia moved seat. Or something quite extraordinary. Anyway, we have a referendum coming up in South Australia on shop trading hours. Do you vote yes to change it or no to keep it the same?
I think unsurprisingly we've got one early yes from the Premier. He's texted in saying shop trading hours fully deregulated in country SA. Life as we know it hasn't stopped there. I think we can put the opposition leader down as a definite no, given that he used to run the Retail Workers Union.
So we'll call it one apiece?
Yeah, it's one all.
We'll say that both leaders have voted.
Yeah.
And it's one apiece. All right. We'll have the full results at 9 o'clock, but keep them coming in. 8223 0000 or text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line 0448 08 1395. News headlines in a moment.
At Terry White Chemmart, we're here to help this winter. Book your flu vaccination service online today. Walk-ins available. Terry White Chemmart. Now that's real chemistry. Conditions apply. See terrywhitechemmart.com.au for details.
How do you know if the milk you're buying is local? Easy. Just look for 3 words. Flurio Milk Company. If the bottle you pick up has those 3 words on it, Flurio Milk Company, it's guaranteed to be local. It's guaranteed to be fresh too. And the big plus, you're supporting SA dairy farmers, and for that, we're forever grateful. 3 words. Flurio Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it.
It's quite funny, actually. I reckon every day that we have the Charmin shelving ad, which is probably once a week, maybe twice a week, it always coincides with me having spent a considerable amount of time using it the previous day. I was out on my garden bench yesterday afternoon for a good 2 hours, sorting out some irrigation. And the great thing about Charmin shelving, doesn't matter if it's car parts, if you're a tinkerer with cars, or you want to store things more effectively in your kitchen, or you get everything, all your washing powders and your fabric softeners sorted out in your laundry, there is a place for everything with Charmin Shelving. And I've had the shelf that's coming up for 12 months now. If you've got a space that needs the Charmin touch, do what I did. Just ask Christine or Bill for a free measure and quote. Give them a buzz, jump online or call into 412 North East Road, Windsor Gardens. Visit charminshelving.com.au and take a look at everything else they do. charminshelving.com.au.
This July, a world premiere event. Eclipse. Pink Floyd orchestrated. Southern Cross Symphony and an ensemble of Australia's finest rock musicians reignite the awe-inspiring sound of Pink Floyd in all its glory. 40 musicians and singers perform all the hits, Us and Them, Comfortably Numb, and Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Saturday, July 17 at Festival Theatre. Book now at Bass.
Decided you need to get behind the wheel of a new Mazda? You don't have to wait for end of financial year sales. Mawson Lakes Mazda has amazing deals across the entire range of new Mazdas right now. With up to 300 cars on site, you're sure to find the model and colours you're dreaming of. Or drive away in a low-kilometre demo before the crush of end of financial year sales. Don't wait months. Get into Mawson Lakes Mazda now. Just a short drive from the city.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide. At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
17 after 6. Early no vote coming through on the 5AA Breakfast Shop Trading Hours referendum question. It's going to be an actual referendum come the next state election, announced this morning. Wally the Walnut says, keep it the same. People just need to get their priorities right. We've managed for years. Thank you, Wally. Another text, another no. As the previous owner of a Banner Mitre 10, I say no to extended shopping hours. Not fair on small privately owned retailers who will get squeezed by the corporates. And another no. Leave shop trading hours as is. And also put the euthanasia question to a referendum, as politicians can't seem to be able to make a decision. I'm not sure to the second part of that. It sounds to me like there's going to be a majority in the lower house. Real shock this morning to read Peter Malinauskas will be voting in favour of the voluntary assisted dying bill.
Which pretty much means it's over the line.
Well, the advertisers' canvassing is that there's now 24 votes in the lower house, which means it will become law. Let's get to the news headlines. We've been talking about it from the start. The ongoing debate about shop trading hours will go to a referendum, and we will have our say at the next state election, March 2022. It will be just the 10th referendum in South Australia's history. The federal government will hand down its latest budget today, designed to continue Australia's COVID recovery. Several major spending announcements have already been made, but more money will flow to infrastructure, defence, women's health and childcare. I think the story out of this federal budget today is going to be less the measures and more just the indicators of where the economy's at.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
The levels of confidence and the degree... I mean, the stock market yesterday, with a wonderful sense of timing, hit a record high. Back more highly valued than it was before COVID ever started.
Yeah.
Business confidence is higher than before. Record highs. It's the best of best case scenarios where we're at this time, in this part of the year, with regard to every economic indicator that's out there.
But is that just because compared to where we were?
No, well, the stock market's above where it's ever been.
Yeah, but I mean
business confidence
is
higher than it ever has been.
Now, I just don't understand it.
But to your question, that is, it can be a byproduct of, wow, I didn't think it'd be this good. There's a bit of that phenomenon. There's pent-up demand. We're seeing it in housing and other things like that. There are some elements of it that might not necessarily mean that this is just normal.
You studied economics, I didn't. I think that those business confidence surveys are the most unreliable sort of animal spirits type part of the black arts of economics.
Completely.
How do they even quantify it? Business confidence surveys are about as reliable as the old player comfort level that Channel 9 used to use during the cricket.
It's a bit like that. It's a bit like that. They would be out there, asked questions on, what their spending priorities are going to be, and if it's, expansion or pulling back business wise and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So theoretically, it's a whole bunch of business people saying, yeah, we're going to be looking to hire, for example.
But they're also the Yay for Capitalism people who run all these surveys.
Yes.
And I'm a Yay for Capitalism guy too. It seems to be the most effective model of running any country. But I don't know. It's like those post-State Bank desperate stories that you'd see on the front page of the Advertiser going, jobs boom for the North. New shopping centre to be built in 2 years, creating up to 16 jobs in the construction phase. And I don't know, I think everybody just wants the world to be better. And I think that's what's coming through in a lot of these surveys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but if you want the counterpoint, look at what South Australia's business confidence has been relative to the rest of the country over the last, what was post-State Bank. It hasn't been, yay, we just want it to be better. A lot of it's been, it's miserable, and we're sending a message. Part of the reason, if you want hard and fast data on where it's improved, the Oz has the exclusive this morning in terms of the bottom line. The deficit for 2021 will be 161 billion compared to the 213 billion forecast in the October budget. So, $52 billion better off is the federal budget in the space of 6 months. Than anyone would have predicted. So that's a hard and fast number. There's no confidence there. That's just the reality. Other news headlines, because we'll talk more about the budget over the course of the morning today, it being handed down later today. There are 0 coronavirus deaths that have been announced in England, Scotland and Northern Ireland over the night. That is for the first time since July last year. People,
none dead.
None dead.
Excellent.
Yeah, people in the UK will be able to hug each other with caution.
How do you hug someone with caution?
Oh, you really...
What do you do?
Sidle up to them slowly.
Yeah. You don't really go in full bear hug.
You can't go... You have to sort of suss them out. And,
Yeah.
You know, you make
Maybe turn your head to the left.
Yeah, that's right.
And just sort of, I don't know.
Hug into your elbow or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Anyway, that's
like dancing at the school formal.
Exactly.
In the olden days.
Exactly right. This is all going to happen from the 17th of May. There's going to be a relaxation of restrictions. Deaths and hospitalisations from coronavirus at their lowest level since July, in an overall sense too, not just a single day. The size of gatherings will increase. Pubs and restaurants will be able to serve people indoors. Here is the British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson.
This unlocking amounts to a very considerable step on the road back to normality, and I am confident that we will be able to go further.
An increase in spending in stores and online in March has retailers confident the sector is returning to normal. More than $30 billion was spent during the month, an increase of 2.2% compared to this time last year. The Federal Education Minister is defending NAPLAN as more than 1 million students prepare to sit the standardised exams. Do you think we'll get a referendum on NAPLAN at some point in two?
I think NAPLAN's going to die a natural death. It feels like NAPLAN's really on the slide.
Yeah.
The uptake of it, the reliability of it.
We've got a lot of teachers in the family. I don't know a lot of people that think it's useful. But I think there are probably parents who would think it's useful.
Yeah, well,
that's
just
the
any
defence
sort of
of it.
snapshot.
Yeah, that's right.
As a parent, you look at it and you go, "Oh yeah, okay, that's an issue," but maybe that's not an issue. I don't know. It's not the richest detail going around.
No, you're right. It's just totally a snapshot. The 2022 Golden Globes are under siege amid the ongoing controversy surrounding the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. NBC has announced it won't air the awards show next year. And Tom Cruise has returned his 3 statues.
Why is this? What's
he
the
got
drama?
them for Born on the 4th of July, Jerry Maguire and Magnolia. There are criticism about the Hollywood Foreign Press Association are twofold. One, there's some dodgy money stuff going on. But the bigger issue, I think, for Hollywood at the moment is they say that someone did a deep dive on who are the Hollywood Foreign Press, and it basically turns out they're a handful of middle-aged rich white guys.
Yeah, right.
And they said that it's the least diverse judging panel of movies and the arts.
So what I have to do, like sack a few of the whiteys and get Spike Lee in there instead?
Yeah, basically.
A couple of Latino chaps.
Yeah, they just say it's just... a lot of importance is placed on an award show decided by a very small snippet of life. That's basically the criticism of it. Whereas the Academy, for the Oscars, has gotten a lot larger and diversified a lot in recent years.
Well, you can see the voting has changed a lot as well.
Yeah, you can.
You know, Korean directors winning. That wouldn't happen 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, that's right. It's 24 after 6. The weather today, 11.1 degrees outside at the moment. 16 the top today. No rain forecast. 20% chance of rain, but it's not going to amount to much if it does come at all. 17 tomorrow. Just 5 overnight tonight. 18 the top on Thursday with up to 4 mils of rain. 17 the top Friday with up to 2. Saturday 17, Sunday 17. And overnight temperatures in the single figures. It's starting to get chilly.
Certainly is.
25 after 6.
I'm Lindy Morrison, former drummer of the Go-Betweens. And if you're like me and driving less these days, FIVEaa's comprehensive car insurance rewards you with a drive less, pay less discount on your premiums.
Call FIVEaa on 13 50 50 for a quote today. FIVEaa. Get set, go. FIVEaa is an authorised representative of AAI Limited, the product issuer. Most optional covers are not discounted. Limits, exclusions and conditions apply. Before buying this insurance, read the PDS. Contact us for a copy.
Hearing Australia.
Hi, I'd like to ask about hearing aids, please.
Sure, but why are we whispering?
So we don't disturb the fish.
Oh, right. Our range includes hearing aids that can be so discreet people probably won't realise you're wearing one. And for eligible pensioners under the Hearing Services Program, there are 3 device choices to choose from that are free. And we will care for your hearing for life.
Got 'em, you beauty!
Hearing Australia. Discover the secret to celebrating sound in your life. Call 134 432 or 134-HERE today.
If you're looking for a used vehicle, you've got to get to North Point Toyota. Their used vehicle stock is constantly changing at Hillcrest, Prospect and Port Augusta. You'll get benefits like North Point Toyota's certified pre-owned program, offering a range of benefits that no private seller could, like 12 months roadside assist on Toyota certified used vehicles, plus 7-day exchange if you're not totally satisfied. North Point Toyota's used stock is constantly changing. It's the North Point way. Hillcrest, Prospect, Port Augusta or northpointtoyota.com.au.
What's your favourite part of a road trip?
Stopping for a bakery pie.
Having a sing-along.
Giving a wave and a nod out on country roads.
Buying fruit from a roadside stall.
When the kids finally fall asleep in the back seat.
Whatever your favourite part of a road trip is, make RAA part of your planning. From RAA Road Service, vehicle inspections, tyres and batteries to RAA approved repairers. Before you do the fun stuff, let RAA help with the car stuff. And keep on moving on. T's and C's apply.
You might think having thousands of pals is excessive, but that's not what the team at Parafield Airport Liquor Store think. Because that's how many they have. Sure, they might be made up of over 100 gins, over 200 whiskies, over 300 craft beers, and over 2,000 boutique wines. But they're some of the best pals you could have, and they're always looking for more, even if they are tricky to track down. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
28 minutes after 6. Tom Wren in the 5AA Breakfast studio with us. Save up to $400 on selected meal and cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, the home of Mr. Dishwasher. Morning to you, Rennie.
Morning, Will. Morning, David. A bit going on in the footy world at the moment. It's tribunal night tonight for Scotty Lycett. You've had some time to digest it. I know we've touched on it briefly, but what are your thoughts? 2, 3?
Yeah, I'm still happy with 2.
Yeah, I think 2. I mean, I think you've got to take a bit of people's character into this and their form. I'm sure. I mean, the tribunal does, doesn't it?
Mm.
Well, they seem to be a bit more hard and fast these days. With
they've tried to remove all the subjective elements of it. To say, okay, the injury was this, it's that. If the action was this, it's almost like a new point system.
But if you're like a cheap hit merchant doing it all the time, I reckon you do get 3. But if someone goes, look, it was just the angles and maybe I should have pulled out, I'm sorry. If you're remorseful as he was, I think those things should be part of it too.
Mm. It'll be right on.
He's not a hit.
What do you think, Ray? How many do you think?
Yeah, I think 2.
What's the footy world think?
I think 3.
Okay,
most people are saying.
So
3.
we're actually on the light side.
Yeah.
How about that?
I think so.
A couple of very reasonable Crow supporters, aren't we? Will?
Yeah. Just speaking to a few interstate journos, and it's easier when you're divorced from it, perhaps. Which we're not. We're here.
What's Eddie think?
That's a good question. He thinks it's black and white.
Yeah,
in, prison bar.
Everything's black and white.
Eddie's saying life in prison.
Yeah. Hey, what about a big story out of Richmond as well with Shai Bolton and Daniel Rioli, and Damien Hardwick was really strong last night defending these players. So they're at a nightclub. Daniel Rioli was with his girlfriend. This is all according to the club, and Hardwick said last night a disparaging comment was made towards her. The players took offence. An altercation broke out. Daniel Riolo's got a cut under his eye. Shai Bolton, who's probably leading their best and fairest at the moment, has a broken wrist and will miss the next 3 weeks. So,
were they drunk?
No, nothing like that. And they've not got to punish them at all. They say it was completely instigated.
I reckon if they weren't drunk, then they've done nothing wrong. Well, people got lives to lead.
That's exactly what Damien Hardwick said, but it does go to show, though, when you're out and about, you can be so easily a target.
Was it a racist comment that we know?
No, it was made towards the girlfriend. Not sure what the actual comment was.
Yeah,
but
right.
The two,
but some nasty remark.
And Daniel Riolo took
So he's
exception,
defended her honour.
Defended, and then they were hit and, attacked, so... Yeah, they're going to...
It's a shame for...
It is a shame.
For Richmond. Shai Bolton is one of the rising stars of the competition.
Probably took the mark of the year on the weekend.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, look, it's not good, and you need to be careful. They do need to live lives, but it just goes to show, like I said, you can be a target if you're a high-name profile footballer.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Good on you, Rennie.
Thanks,
on you,
boys.
Tom. Save up to $400 on selected meal and cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, the home of Mr. Dishwasher.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy today and a top of 16 with the 6:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Keep your body in shape with Physio Extra Clinical Pilates and group exercise classes. PhysioExtra.com.
The subject of deregulated shop trading hours in SA is headed for a referendum. The Marshall government wants the question put to voters at the March 22 election. Treasurer Rob Lucas says we need a decision on the issue.
Let the people decide on this issue as to whether they want to join the rest of Australia and basically have shopping hours being available on Boxing Day and on Easter Monday and early on Sunday mornings if traders want to trade.
It's budget day in Canberra. Initiatives to help rebuild the economy after COVID-19 are on the state's wish list. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg will hand down the economic blueprint tonight. Martin Hazy from Business SA says they'd like to see a continuation of the Boosting Apprenticeship Commencement Scheme.
Currently, in partnership with the State Government of South Australia, the federal government provides a 50% wages subsidy to employers who take on an apprentice. This is slated to go through to the 30th of September this year, then it stops, and we are a very strong advocate that they continue that through to Christmas.
An increase in spending in stores and online in March has retailers confident the sector is returning to normal. More than $30 billion was spent during the month, an increase of 2.2% compared to this time last year. The Australian Retailers Association's Fleur Brown says there is a broader spread of spending compared to the panic buying in March of 2020.
Supermarket goods such as household goods are up 10%. Clothing, footwear and personal accessories were up 54%. Department stores are up 25%. These are all good figures because during that period in March last year, those categories of retail were really suffering.
Over 1 million students are preparing to sit the annual NAPLAN assessment. 9's Sophie Clark has more.
Data for this year's assessment will be crucial in determining whether students in years 3, 5, 7 and 9 are developing the literacy and numeracy skills that provide a foundation for other learning after the pandemic forced the examination's cancellation last year. 70% of schools are completing the test online in preparation for a full transition to the digital resource in 2022. The platform has been enhanced to support schools with limited access to internet in regional or remote areas.
New York is giving away free tickets to iconic attractions as an incentive to get more people vaccinated against COVID. The city's infection rate has dropped to a 6-month low. Mayor Bill de Blasio hopes this latest initiative will increase vaccination rates.
From this point on, there'll be many, many opportunities to get great prizes when you get vaccinated. We want people to know it's time. And it's going to just make it so much better for everyone else, too. Each additional person who gets vaccinated helps us move everything else forward.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr. Dishwasher.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Port Adelaide ruckman Scott Lycett will front the AFL tribunal tonight for his high tackle on Crows midfielder Ned McHenry, which left him concussed. He won't play in this Sunday's clash against West Coast in Perth. Eagle Brennan Archie insisting they won't be underestimating Adelaide. Archie starred for the team at the weekend with 4 goals in the Eagles' 38-point win to the Hawks in Melbourne. He says even though the Crows are in the bottom 8, every team is a challenge.
In AFL, you can't go into any game thinking it's going to be easy because that's when you get rolled. So we're going to prepare as good as we ever have. We know that Adelaide always have a crack, really good midfields, and they've got something to prove. So we're going to prepare just like we normally would, and yeah, it's going to be on.
Still on footy, Jeremy Howe will have surgery on the hamstring he injured back in round 5. The 30-year-old Magpies defender suffered his latest setback during a training session on the weekend. He was closing in on a return to the field from a knee injury, but is now expected to be sidelined until late in the season. Meantime, North Melbourne midfielder Jaden Stevenson has had surgery on a fractured wrist last night and will miss around 6 weeks. To tennis, Aussie Alex de Minaur has been knocked out of the Rome Masters after going down in straight sets to local Gianluca Marga. John Millman will be hoping for a better result when he plays later today, as will fellow Aussie Isla Tomljanovic. And in some soccer news, Fulham has officially been relegated from the English Premier League after suffering a 2-0 loss at home to Burnley. The win lifts Burnley up to 14th on the table. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Cloudy and 16 today, tomorrow sunny and 17, Thursday a shower or two, 18. Right now it's 11 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
There she was, just walking down the street singing.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 minutes to 7. Feels like working on the floor of the tally room in here at the moment.
Where's the excited Anthony Green when you need him?
We thought we'd run a referendum, given we're having our first in some 30 years here in South Australia, the next state election, about shop trading hours. What we didn't realise was logistically how tough it was going to be when all the votes start coming in. There's a lot coming in, thankfully.
We're getting a lot of early pro-deregulation votes coming through from the inner west, from the Brompton and Bowden area. That was my Anthony Green impersonation.
I think if we were to suggest that the text line was an electorate, it would be very anti-shop trading hour changes. But Lucy is our Anthony Green, and she's been compiling the numbers. What have you found out so far, Luce?
Well,
30 minutes in.
First of all, we're taking calls off air as well. So if you just want to ring in into the producer's booth, just say your vote off air.
Yep.
That's fine. We'll put you on air if you'd like to. Text us.
Yes to change. No to keep it the same.
Yes.
That's
correct.
Yeah.
Do we need some sort of sweeper for when you come in, Luce? Can I do it? Can it be something like South Australia decides, and then you say what the numbers are?
Sure, if you can replicate that every half hour,
okay,
that'd be great.
I'll try to do it. Try to do it.
Off air, we're having a lot more votes on Twitter. We've got a Twitter poll. Head to David and Will on Twitter.
Yep.
So on Twitter, 67% have voted for yes.
Change it.
That's
to
interesting.
change the hours.
67% on Twitter. Okay.
On Twitter. Interestingly, off air, 76% have said no. Don't change it.
Well, that's...
See, the medium is the message to a large degree with this, because Twitter skews massively young, and the old art of picking up your telephone and ringing someone skews much older, and I think there might be a bit of an age split emerging there.
Yeah, you can also comment on our Facebook and YouTube live streams. We're taking votes off there. Text us as well, of course, 044808 1395. We'll keep the tally going.
Have we got an overall, if you combine the two?
Overall votes, yes. So total votes, 35 for yes, 26 for no.
That includes Twitter as well.
Includes everything.
And the text line?
Yep. Text, calls, Facebook, Twitter.
Okay, thank you for that, Luce.
That's half an hour into the program at what for most people is still a very early hour. So to have, 61 votes cast, that's bigger than most focus groups political parties use.
It really is.
I'm calling it's not going to get up.
No, but it is up. It's ahead right now, isn't it?
It is ahead.
Oh, hang on, sorry. So, the vote yes to changing it.
In terms of amount of votes, yes, it's ahead, but then it really depends on where you're voting.
You know what? And thank you for that, Luce.
That's
I think
good, Luce.
there's part of, and you're the message is the medium is the message. The people that are most likely to give in to the argument that you're doing lots of online shopping and it's killing business will be those that are voting on Twitter.
Yeah.
If you're living... They'll hear that argument and say, yeah, that makes sense. That's what people I socialise with are doing.
The one part of this debate that I personally care about, because my instincts are let it rip, free country, businesses can do what they like. Having said that, really small businesses, like really, really small businesses. I've had texts this morning from a local butcher, and I also know that my local fruit and veg guy, they worry, and I think they're indicative of the very small business sector. I'm talking here like, Manny's Fruit Shop's 3 staff. He opens early Sundays to get the jump on the big guys. A lot of people go in there and do their weekly fruit shop, knowing that Coles and Woolworths aren't open then. And that's good extra dough for him. There's a lot of businesses that worry that if the big supermarket chains have open slather, that more people will just fall into the habit of going, well, I just get everything at the big supermarket chains. Having said that, there's a real divergence of views on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line. One here advocating a full return to the olden days. I work retail. I think we should go back to half-day trade Saturday, no trade Sunday, late night Thursday in the suburbs and late night Friday in the city. Leave retail alone. Big businesses are the only winners. One here from Chris in Goodwood, noted deregulated shop trading hours. We need to support small independent traders. One here from Andre in Merino. Morning, fellas. Having lived in the country for many years with deregulated hours, I found it frustrating at times with the restricted hours since moving to Adelaide 3 years ago. So I'm a yes for deregulation. One here from Bill in Port Pirie. Stop trading in regional SA. Yes, we are deregulated and it can be good, but the vacancies for small businesses are huge. I was in a corner deli that was there for 50 years when Port Pirie was deregulated. Killed our business. I'm a no.
Keep them coming in, 8223 0088. You can vote on Facebook, YouTube, via our Twitter account, or you can text us 0448 08 1395. We're going to check traffic for the first time this morning. Thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal on 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
Good morning. Roads looking really nice this morning. The North-South Motorway accident and breakdown free into Regency Park. Southern Expressway working well to South Road and Tonsley, and Anzac Highway flying well from Glenelg all the way into the city. Simply some roadworks to look out for today. Crafers West, the freeway downtrack near Measdays Bridge. The inbound lane is closed for works there. Expect a few delays. Speed restrictions both ways there, and a couple of speed cameras. Bevington Road, Glenunga, Glenburn Road at Burnside. Need new tyres for winter? Until May 31, buy 3 Bridgestone Ecopia fuel-saving tyres and get the 4th one free. Conditions apply. Search Bridgestone Select today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Good leaders always look to support local, and they stay local. Like Leader Computers, Australia's largest Australian-owned PC manufacturer, based right here in South Australia. Having a world-class manufacturer of computers is a big win for our state, providing jobs and local support you simply can't get from overseas companies. Looking for the latest Intel and Microsoft-based computers at great pricing with the huge benefit of local support? Google Leader Computers to find your closest Leader reseller.
As I look deep into my crystal ball, I see your future, bright and full of promise. Oh!
Yes?
I see!
Yes?
I see!
What? What is it? What do you see?
No, it's gone.
Lost your picture or need to improve your picture quality? Call Jim's Antennas. With technicians on the road all over SA, we'll have it fixed in no time. Call 131 546 or visit jimsantennas.com.au.
Living with osteoarthritis means living with pain, but SportsMed is changing that thanks to the revolutionary GLAD program. Here's SportsMed's Dr. Greg Keane with more.
GLAD is a 6-week exercise program performed in groups, and it continues to produce remarkable results for patients, even a year after completing the course. If you are struggling with the pain of osteoarthritis, visit SportsMed. Let's beat this.
SportsMed.
Start living life again, even with arthritis.
Sportsmed.com.au.
When you die, who gets what? Will your kids or relatives argue over your estate? Will your beneficiaries be protected? Will your estate be tax effective? Will your wishes be respected and carried out? Speak with Donlan Lawyers now for peace of mind. Donlan Lawyers for wills and estate planning. Visit donlanlawyers.com. That's donlanlawyers.com.
Decided you need to get behind the wheel of a new Mazda? You don't have to wait for end of financial year sales. Mawson Lakes Mazda has amazing deals across the entire range of new Mazdas right now. With up to 300 cars on site, you're sure to find the model and colours you're dreaming of. Or drive away in a low-kilometre demo before the crush of end-of-financial year sales. Don't wait months. Get into Mawson Lakes Mazda now. Just a short drive from the city.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
15 to 7. Big thanks to Mike in Nord for giving me the warning. I'm going to have a good night's sleep tonight. He says, David, definitely have your AstraZeneca jab today, but be prepared to feel like crap for 24 to 48 hours afterwards. In our family, all 3 of the close to 50s that have had the jab in the last week or so had a reaction afterwards. It's actually a good sign, according to the science. Our later research says Mike Will may need to do the show on his own tomorrow. Now, don't go getting ideas. Don't go getting ideas, Penberthy.
I'll see you on Friday.
That's not...
I haven't had a sick day for, what, 2 years?
No, you haven't.
I've had a good streak. I can't remember the last sick day I had,
I can see the cogs turning.
I'm not even sure if I've had a sick day since Charlie was born.
No.
I don't reckon I've had a sick day for 3 years.
No, but you
had 2 in a row last year.
You're still in deficit for... I had to do the show with...
Oh, hang on.
With
taking the week off because you've had a child does not count as chucking a sickie.
Hey, when you have to do the show with the local politicians, my friend, come and chat with me.
That's right. Well, mate, you know the answer to that. Get busy. Get busy, sunshine.
14
not
to
hard.
7. Senior Constable Jen Cullinan from Sapole is on the line. Morning to you, Jen.
Morning.
Sorry you came in on the backdraft of that little conversation, Jen.
Yeah, glad to know that you're both well.
Yeah. Hey, Jen, tell us about this arrest over a stolen car at Elizabeth Grove.
Yeah, so yesterday, 3 people were arrested after a car that had been previously stolen from Kidman Park was spiked in Elizabeth Grove. So the patrol spotted the white Commodore displaying different number plates on Fairfield Road yesterday afternoon just before 2:30. They pursued the vehicle for a short distance before the tyres were successfully spiked. And the 23-year-old driver of the vehicle, a Para Hills man, tried to run from police, which didn't end well for him because he was quickly apprehended. As he was being arrested, a green Ford sedan arrived at the scene and 2 people jumped out and tried to prevent the police arresting him. So a Munna Para 33-year-old man and a 28-year-old Elizabeth East woman were arrested and charged with hinder for interfering with the police arrest there. And the Ford tried to drive off and actually drove over the woman's foot. And she was taken to the Lyle McEwen Hospital for treatment.
The woman who was hindering police?
Yes. Yeah.
Jeez, this didn't really end well for any of them, did it? Crikey.
No, it didn't. And her injuries are minor. So, but the Para Hills man has been arrested and charged with numerous offences, including illegal use, some traffic offences and a firearms offence. All 3 are expected to appear at Elizabeth Magistrates Court today.
And Jen, you busted a woman with drugs in her car this morning.
Yeah, some good work by patrols in Coralta Park this morning, and that was just before 4:15. Police were patrolling the area when they stopped a car on Tennyson Street. The checks revealed that the driver was disqualified from driving. They've searched the car and they've located some GHB together with some drug paraphernalia. The driver is a 36-year-old woman from Parafield Gardens. She's been arrested and she's actually being interviewed by police at the moment, and she's expected to be charged with traffic and some drug offences.
Good on you, Jen. Thank you for that. Senior Constable Jen Cullinan from Sapole. Let's talk weather. Vince Rowland, Senior Forecaster at the Weather Bureau. Morning to you, Vince.
Morning, guys.
So have we added some rain to the forecast over the next couple of days?
Yeah, we will see a little bit coming through again on Thursday, but there's a little bit of shower activity around at the moment over the hills and southern suburbs, just getting those showers coming up in a southerly. So you're probably not going to see too much over the metro area, maybe a few spots, but generally speaking, those showers will stay in the southern suburbs and the hills. But yeah, pretty cool today. Currently sitting around 10 degrees and we're not warming up that much, only getting to 16 degrees. A fair bit of cloud around today, but yeah, pretty chilly start to the day tomorrow. We'll see that cloud break up overnight. We've got a high just moving eastwards across the state, so the winds will drop off. So, looking like an overnight low of around 5 degrees for Adelaide tomorrow, and then warming up to 17. So we will see some frost over parts of the state during Wednesday with those cold mornings. But on Thursday, we do have a front coming through, so we'll see the northerly winds just picking up a little bit ahead of that, getting to a top of 18 degrees, but cooling down again once the showers come through. And could see another sort of 2 to 5 millimetres or thereabouts across the metro area and a bit more up in the hills. And then over the next couple of days, as we sort of remain in the southeasterly airstream, we're looking at showers continuing. So up to a couple of millimetres on Friday with top of 17, easing back a bit over the weekend, but still the odd shower around with tops of 17 for both days, and then fining up on Monday and a top of 18 degrees. So certainly some pretty cool temperatures over the next week. A pretty cold start to the day tomorrow, and then some showers on and off from Thursday through the weekend.
Good on you, Vince. Good stuff. Senior forecaster Vince Rowlands from the Weather Bureau. Lots of texts still coming in on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line with votes. Just a sample of two of them. Luke says, lads, I'm from England, where you can go to the supermarket at 3 a.m. to pick up your groceries, beer, and heck, even fireworks if you like. It's about time we catch up in SA. Thank you, Luke. Tessa in Paraka says, for the love of parents, please don't deregulate shopping hours. The shops are all shut excuse is the only thing between me and seemingly endless requests of, can I buy from the kids? It's bad enough that online shopping is always open. Good on you, Tessa. Keep them coming in. We'll get another update on the count that'll close off at 9 o'clock this morning. The referendum's in March next year. We're doing a little trial run on 5AA Breakfast this morning. It's 8 to 7. You can hug again in England. We'll find out what else has changed right after this.
For 25 years, Crime Stoppers has encouraged people to come forward with information that helps solve and prevent crimes. Since 1996, more than 34,000 crimes have been solved and more than 22,000 people apprehended. Share what you know without saying who you are by calling Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000 or make a report by visiting crimestopperssa.com.au. Crime Stoppers SA, Police Credit Union and 9 News, supporting better communities.
When people walk through the doors at Pals, the first thing they say is wow. Not only because of the size and the selection, but also because of the team. Sam and Jamie have tasted every drop. They and their team can recommend a whiskey that's just as good as that hard-to-find Japanese one, if they don't have it, that is. Or a beautiful red that's reminiscent of that outstanding cellar door you once travelled so far to visit. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
Ready for adventure? Dave Benson Caravans have over 120 caravans and campers ready for your next one. With overseas travel off the cards for a while, invest your holiday dollars in a DBC caravan. Your valued dollars don't disappear. They remain in the asset of your luxury van. And you get to enjoy a holiday, seeing Australia's beauty. Come see the caravan specialists at Dave Benson Caravans to tailor your dream holiday on wheels. Your adventure begins here. 64 Grand Junction Road, Kilburn.
5AA's Business Lounge with Leith Forrest.
Yes, thank you for joining us. I'm here with Tom Clark, the CEO from Workspace. Welcome back, Tom.
Thanks, Leith.
Hey, the workplace, gee, it's had a big shift, hasn't it?
It has. The workplace post-COVID saw a huge amount of change. COVID's accelerated the change to the workplace.
So what do you think workplaces need to do?
Workplaces need to be engaging. They need to be places that we can bring people to collaborate, to participate, and to ultimately be productive.
And you've got the high-quality furniture made right here in SA.
Absolutely. 12,500 square metres of production right here in South Australia to produce any of your commercial furniture needs for any commercial environment.
Hey, Tom, you've been in business for over 100 years. You've seen wars, depressions, social revolutions, and now you've got a pandemic.
Absolutely. And through all that change and all that time, Leith, we've adapted and we see the adaptation to the new workplace of the future.
So Workspace is ready to go to work for you. How do people get in touch?
Head to our website, workspace.com.au.
That's workspace.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
5 minutes to 7. Some good news in the news headlines this morning. Restrictions will be eased in the UK on the 17th of May. It means our next guest can be hugged again. Ben Avery for 9 News joins us. When was the last time you had a hug, Ben?
Not even from my wife, guys, I've got to say. So
Okay. You know
restriction doesn't really even apply to me, but there are other things to look forward to, including the pubs opening, which is nice.
Yeah, well, that sounds pretty good.
So just take us through it. What's changing?
Yeah, so the pubs are actually open here, but only outdoors, which is not much good when it's sort of 9 or 10 degrees. So as of the 17th, which is next Monday, they will open indoors. Same applies to restaurants and cafes and cinemas and things like that. So a major change, given that the UK's been through a lot over the last 4 or 5 months, and this is the first time this year that we'll see all of that happen.
So England feels like a real test case for the rest of the world right now, Ben, because obviously the country did terribly badly, Great Britain. The whole situation was out of control, but it had a real red-hot go at vaccinating everyone. So if this has worked, and if there's no, what would it be, a third wave or fourth wave, then it's a sign that a fully or a close to fully vaccinated country can reclaim its freedom. How do people think it's going to play out?
Well, I think the officials here hope that it's playing out already, and it's playing out well. The stats given by Boris Johnson in a press conference a couple of hours ago were that deaths and hospitalisation from COVID-19 are now at their lowest levels since last July, which is sort of in the middle of the summer here and when things are really good. So there's been a huge improvement. 1/3 of UK adults have now had 2 doses of the vaccine. That's quite incredible. And then I think it's 2/3 have had at least 1 dose. So we should be seeing the impacts of that now. And it appears, looking at the data, that, yeah, things are really starting to improve. And I think today, over a 24-hour period, there were 0 deaths across, I think, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and England. Actually, I think there might have been 4 in Wales, but everywhere else there was 0. So, it does look as though if the UK is a test case for these vaccines, that things are working out well. And in fact, I think in Israel, the rollout's already happened, and they're seeing similar results too. So, hopefully Australia can get it rolled out, and they'll see similar results as well. Not that I guess there's any case there, but they'll see everyone protected.
So what's the next frontier then in terms of the relaxation of restrictions?
So from Monday, all of the pubs, the dining and indoor hospitality reopens. Then there's another date, that's June 21, and it initially when this sort of roadmap was launched and rolled out, they were saying that they were hoping that all restrictions would be eased from June 21. I'd be surprised if that happens. That would mean, for example, 50,000 people go and watch a soccer game. I just don't see that happening in the space of a month, but you never know. That is that next deadline, and we do expect to see significant changes again come that day.
Does that include international travel?
So, yeah, that's another thing that's from next Monday. So Monday, May 17, international travel is no longer illegal. You can do it. The only issue is that obviously there's different quarantine arrangements right around Europe, so you might have to go into quarantine when you go somewhere like France, and then have to quarantine when you come back. But there will be some places on a so-called green list, and I think Israel's one of those, Iceland, there's about 12 countries, Australia is one as well, where if you come from there, you don't even have to quarantine. So the hope is that as time goes on, more and more countries will be added to that green list to the point where you get somewhere near normality, I guess.
Ben, appreciate it. It's great insight, mate. Thank you for that. Ben Avery for 9 News in Europe. We're a minute away from 7 o'clock. Peter's called in on the AstraZeneca jab. Morning to you, Peter.
Good morning, Will. Listen, tell Dave not to worry. Just over a fortnight ago, nearly 3 weeks ago, I had my the flu jab, and I had more problems with that than I did on the 5th when I had the COVID jab.
Seriously, Peter, did you come down with the flu after getting it?
No, I didn't come down with the flu, but my arm was a little bit sore with the COVID-19. In, out, waited 15 minutes, went home, had tea, and nothing's happened.
Right as rain. You still sound like you're in rude health, mate.
Well, for a 76-year-old guy with a pacemaker, I'm not too bad.
Good on you, glad to hear it, Peter, mate. Thank you for that.
Thanks for that, mate.
Appreciate you calling in.
I feel
David's
like
getting
my
his
mind is at rest.
You're getting so's mine, actually, as it turns out.
I'll be here tomorrow.
1:30 today.
You know me.
The big day.
I come in under all sorts of extenuating circumstances.
You do. You really do. No one's ever
Stir
questioned.
premierships.
No one's ever questioned that. It's
I
7
remember
o'clock.
I had a great chief of staff years ago, got right up me for being late one morning. He said, "Here's a simple rule, son. Play up, turn up. I didn't care what you did last night. You're coming in." And I thought, yeah, that's actually really good. It's a motto to live by.
You heard that and just heard a licence to play up. That was, didn't you? That's how you heard that.
Hey, as long as you turn up and do whatever the hell you want.
5AA News Time. Back with more, including an update on our referendum, our pre-referendum referendum, right after this.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio, and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 16 today with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Trust Physio Extra. Norwood, Purie Street, Marion, Hallicove, Seaford and Victor Harbour. PhysioExtra.com.
The ongoing debate over shop trading hours is headed to a referendum at the next state election. The Libs want the deregulation issue put to voters in March 2022. The opposition's Stephen Mulligan is sceptical about the push to hold our first referendum in almost 30 years.
This move now looks like an obsession from Rob Lucas and the Liberals, trying one last time to give a massive leg up to Coles and Woolies at the expense of locally owned retailers like Foodland, Drakes and the IGAs.
A routine traffic stop at Carolta Park has turned into a drug bust. Senior Constable Jen Cullinan says a car was stopped on Tennyson Street just after 4 a.m.
Checks revealed that the driver was disqualified from driving. They've searched the car and they've located some GHB together with some drug paraphernalia.
The driver and sole occupant of the car, a 36-year-old woman from Parafield Gardens, was arrested and is being interviewed by police. Tonight's federal budget will include more than $500 million to attract foreign investment and highly skilled workers. Nine's Michael Packey has the details.
Tonight's budget will outline measures to cement the nation's economic recovery by creating more job opportunities. It'll be easier for overseas companies to invest in Australia. Highly skilled professionals will be able to access a special visa to live and work here permanently. Global talent offices have been set up in many parts of the world to help find the best people and give Australia a head start once we open our international borders. The government will use tonight's budget to explain its roadmap to reopen the country sometime next year.
In the US, the FDA has authorised Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use in children aged 12 to 15. Meantime, the World Health Organization has declared a COVID variant identified in India as a variant of concern. The WHO says some of the available data suggests it is more transmissible, but more information is needed. There's new information about the cyber attack which forced the shutdown of one of the largest pipelines in America. Nine's Alison Petrowski reports from the US.
The FBI has confirmed this morning that DarkSide ransomware is responsible for the hack of the Colonial Pipeline, one of the largest US pipelines which pumps more than 80 million gallons of fuel from Texas to New York daily. The White House says they're investigating whether this was a specific state-based attack, but did not reveal whether the ransom was paid. This is US Deputy National Security Advisor Elizabeth Sherwood-Randall.
Our Colonial has told us that it has not suffered damage and can be brought back online relatively quickly.
There is currently no supply shortage, so the shutdown is not expected to cause a rise in fuel prices.
A new documentary will examine the life and career of Rudy Giuliani. The one-time New York mayor is also Donald Trump's former personal lawyer. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Scans have confirmed Adelaide forward Lockie Murphy will need surgery on his ankle, meaning he's set to miss the next 8 to 10 weeks. Meantime, Port Adelaide forward Zach Butters has suffered a setback in his recovery from his ankle injury, meaning he's set to be out for at least a few more weeks. Well, Richmond won't be taking any action against Daniel Rioli and Shai Bolton, clearing them of any wrongdoing after they were involved in a fight at a nightclub on the weekend. Bolton broke his wrist in the altercation and Rioli required stitches under his eye after standing up for his partner when she was put in an uncomfortable situation. Tigers coach Damien Hardwick has told Fox Footy Bolton will need surgery, sidelining him for up to 3 weeks.
Look, it's disappointing. He's in great form. There's no doubt about that. He's one of the form players of the competition. Obviously, the loss of Shane Edwards further compounds it. So midfield is obliterated at the moment. But, from obstacle comes opportunity. So that's the way we've got to look at it. Some players will get an opportunity to play.
Melbourne's Jack Viney is only weeks away from a return from foot surgery. The Demons vice-captain setting the round 13 clash with Collingwood as his goal. UEFA is trying to move the Champions League final from Istanbul because English fans aren't allowed to travel to Turkey. Manchester City is set to do battle with Chelsea in an all-English final. The body is looking to move it to London's Wembley Stadium but is struggling to reach an agreement with the UK government. Meantime, on the pitch, Fulham has gone down to Burnley 2-0 in the English Premier League this morning, meaning they've been officially relegated. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
Good morning. Roads flowing really well this morning, which is excellent for the drive-in. Main North Road, accident and breakdown free from Enfield into Scotty's Corner. North-South Motorway working really well too into Regency Park, and no hassles on the Southern Expressway into South Road at Tonsley. Simply some roadworks to look out for this morning. Crafers West, the freeway down trip near Measdays Bridge. The inbound lane is closed there for work, so do expect a few delays with speed restrictions both ways there, and a couple of speed cameras. Bevington Road, Glenunga, and Marion Road at Firle. Godzilla vs Kong, the battle you don't want to miss. Fast track from cinemas to your home. Godzilla vs Kong, available now to buy or rent on digital. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Cloudy 16 today, tomorrow sunny and 17, Thursday a shower or two, 18. Right now it's 11 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
In the last hour on Adelaide's 5AA.
Next state election, the deregulation of shop trading hours. It's been a perennial debate in South Australia. It's now going to be a question that's put to you, the voter. How will you vote? To deregulate shop trading hours or keep the current system? We'll do a test referendum over the course of the program this morning. So let's just give it a test run for the next 2.5 hours and see what the 5AA breakfast audience thinks. Feels like working on the floor of the tally room in here at the moment.
Where's the excitable Anthony Green when you need him?
What we didn't realise was logistically how tough it was going to be when all the votes start coming in. There's a lot coming in, thankfully.
We're getting a lot of early pro-deregulation votes coming through from the inner west, from the Brompton and Bowden area. That was my Andy Green impersonation.
Restrictions will be eased in the UK. Ben Avery for 9 News joins us. When was the last time you had a hug, Ben?
Not even from my wife, guys, I've got to say. Yeah, so the pubs are actually open here, but only outdoors. Not much good when it's sort of 9 or 10 degrees. As of the 17th, they will open indoors. Same applies to restaurants and cafes and cinemas and things like that.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 after 7. Good luck on this Tuesday morning to the kids sitting NAPLAN today. 84,000 students from 700 schools taking part across the state. Notable one in a historical sense too. It'll be the last time that Year 7s are sitting it as part of primary schools. This time next year, of course, yes, all Year 7s will be high school students next year. As you've just heard in that little review of the last hour, we're doing a referendum on the program this morning ahead of what is the big news. The first in 30 years will take place at the next state election. Lucy is tallying the votes for us across the Telstra Storm Outback text line, the 5AA Facebook and YouTube live feeds, Twitter,
decides.
Calls. 82230000 is the number. You can vote on the air, off the air. Lucy, what's the latest info telling us?
Morning, guys. So we had a heap come in just in that last half hour, but these stats are now with the first hour of the show combined.
Okay.
We've had more votes coming in for yes in the last half hour. So we're up to a total. So across Twitter, across calls, texts and Facebook comments, yes, 66%. No, 33%. Twitter only, we do have a Twitter poll on the David and Will Twitter page. Yes is at 75%. No is at 25%. Overall, the call, texts and comments, we're actually getting more of the no total. So no, 54%, yes, 46%. But keep them coming in everywhere. We're monitoring.
Yeah, you're doing a wonderful job, Luce. Thank you for that. We'll have a final definitive answer by 9 o'clock what the 5AA breakfast audience thinks. But
so the yes vote is still leading.
The yes vote still leading overall from the whole hour of the show so far across Twitter, calls, Facebook, texts. 66% say yes.
Good info, Lois.
And I suspect, Dave, and we spoke about this a bit off air, you made the point before we came on the air this morning, that it's unlikely that the state government raises this if they don't have some pretty good polling data that suggests that yes is the most popular option.
Well, we are less than 12 months away from the election campaign, and I think that quite clearly what the government wants to do is paint the deregulation of shop trading hours as part of its overall suite of economic measures, and use it as something, particularly given his pedigree as the head of the Shoppies Union, to hammer Peter Malinowskis over the head, say that he's yesterday's man. He's trying to keep the brakes on the economy by not allowing deregulation. And the other thing too is that I'm not even necessarily sure if it's a done deal that it's a referendum question yet, because I think, and I spoke to Josh Peake, the head of the new head of the SDA. He texted me before saying, as an FYI, the government would need to have legislation passed the Parliament authorising the shopping referendum to occur. And Josh says they are obviously keen to create a massive distraction in the lead up to March. We'll call it a distraction or call it a sort of attempt to flush people out. But given that every attempt the Marshall government has made this term via legislation to do what it promised, I mean, this was a clear election promise, 2018, we will deregulate shop trading hours. The minor parties, Independents and Labor, all the ones who are anti-deregulation, they all denied the government that mandate this term. What's to say that the upper house is necessarily, if it needs to be a bill to put a referendum question, is it necessarily going to pass the upper house?
That's politically a much worse look, isn't it? We're not going to give South Australia a chance to have their say.
I think it is. I think it's a risk for Labor.
Steve Marshall, his part, saying they're going to introduce the referendum bill to Parliament this week.
So it is a bill.
So it is a bill. They've put a timeline on it. I love this story in the Tizer this morning. There are 30 million Japanese wine drinkers waiting to be introduced to quality South Australian wine, according to Japan's top diplomat in Australia. Big interview. The Japanese ambassador to Australia, Shingo Yamagami, urged South Australian winemakers to diversify their exports, declaring he wanted to be able to enjoy everything from Penfolds to Fruity Lexia in Tokyo.
What about that Fruity Lexia?
Mr. Yamagami said
he knows his wine, this bloke.
He does. Australia was lagging behind other nations such as Italy and France when it came to exporting wine to Japan. He said this is high time for South Australia to diversify export destinations. Japanese people drink wine like whales. Consumption is enormous. This guy is sensational.
He's very funny. He gives good quote. I thought the Wales line was a bit sailing close to the wind, given some of the historic issues we've had with our Japanese friends and their appetites.
I will say,
we eat kangaroos, though.
That's right. Having been to Japan, it is for a place that loves fine dining, loves fine everything. The Japanese have an appetite for the best of everything in the world. It's such a Japanese cultural. They want the best of the best to be available in Japan.
Yeah.
To go to these places and there's an Australian wine on the wine lists is galling. It's really shocking because you go to most other places on earth and you'll find something from the Barossa.
Yeah.
Andy's just made the point though. Fruity Lexia is not the best of the best. Well, maybe at its end of the market it is.
For let 1,000 flowers bloom.
Exactly right.
Some people like a high-end Penfolds Red. Others are happy with 5 litres of paddle wheel Fruity Lexia from the middle of the Riverina.
Speaking of wine, and the federal budget is tonight, I note with interest that the Australian Grape and Wine Chief Executive Tony Battleline has said the sector needs a funding boost to help wine companies diversify their market and boost market access. Totally separate bit of reporting this morning, but the industry is saying, well, you know what, it'd be nice to be able to start a new industry in Japan, but we kind of need some help.
Yeah.
Certainly at a time when they can't travel there.
Just on the timing of this referendum, Peter Malinowskis has texted in the interesting story on page 3 of the Tizer today, where he has shown his hand about voluntary euthanasia and said that he will support it. As Will said before, this gives the bill the numbers. It means pretty much definitely that we will have euthanasia laws. We did Breaking at 8 last week, saying that the Premier was going to deal with this as part of government business, which would have brought the vote forward, and read a statement out on Breaking at 8. Since then, there's been a bit of a backlash from some Liberal MPs who feel that the Premier was out of line doing that, and that it should have been sort of dealt with by the party room first rather than via the media. Peter Malinauskas says, be in no doubt they've put this out, that is shop trading hours, to distract from Marshall being rolled by the party room on euthanasia. As you probably know, there's no shortage of Liberal MPs who are filthy that the Premier declared it would be in the lower house government time this week. Bit of a one for the political tragics there, but there's been a bit of drama behind the scenes. But we'll hear from Rob Lucas shortly about what the government hopes to achieve with this referendum.
15 minutes after 7, 8223 0000 number. You can text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line as well and vote in our very own 5AA breakfast referendum on the question of should shop trading hours be deregulated. Let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal in 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles. That's Dave Potter Honda.
Look out for roadworks this morning at Crafers West, the freeway down track near Measdays Bridge there. Inbound lane is closed for works today. Expect delays, speed restrictions both directions there too. Getting busy for the drive-in, the Southern Expressway to South Road and also South Road at Anzac Highway. North-South motorway though, flying well into Regency Park. A couple of speed cameras to keep in mind today. Murray Street at Angaston and Penfold Road at McGill. Making funeral arrangements can be difficult. When you need to, talk to Alfred James, your family-owned South Australian funeral directors. Alfred James. The final farewell matters. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Leon Biner.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Michael McCormick. This infrastructure money, I think a lot of people would be very happy to see it, except that the civil contractors point out that this is money that was already promised and wasn't delivered.
I'm happy to continue to work with Corey Wingard and the South Australian Government.
9 till 12 weekdays.
It's money that flows right throughout local communities, securing Australia's recovery.
SSA as Leon Biner.
Securing South Australia's recovery.
SSA as AA.
The Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery is giving you the chance to win something really special. A stunning Scott Salisbury home on the Esplanade at South Brighton with the most incredible views. Fully furnished and professionally decorated and landscaped, this home comes with everything you could ever want or need, including $1 million cash. It's a $3.4 million grand prize and it could all be yours. Get your tickets today at homelottery.com.au and join the fight for cures, better treatments and improved care. Licence M13989.
Know what's kick-ass? Getting out there and exploring the great outdoors. And the right gear can make it really kick-ass. For quality four-wheel drive and camping gear, use kick-ass products. Available only at australiandirect.com.au.
Western Australia is full of adventures waiting to be discovered. With Phil Hoffman Travel, you can explore its vast beauty by train from Adelaide to Perth on board the all-inclusive Indian Pacific. Enjoy 3 nights in Perth and visit the pristine Rottnest Island. This 6-day indulgence package starts from $2,115 per person. It's time to reconnect. It's time to wander out yonder in WA. Book with Phil Hoffman Travel today. pht.com.au.
For 25 years, Crime Stoppers has encouraged people to come forward with information that helps solve and prevent crimes. Since 1996, more than 34,000 crimes have been solved and more than 22,000 people apprehended. Share what you know without saying who you are by calling Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000 or make a report by visiting crimestopperssa.com.au. Crime Stoppers SA, Police Credit Union and 9 years, supporting better communities.
Elevate the everyday in the elegant Renault Koleos SUV. Available from just $32,990 drive away. Contact your local dealer today. Renault Koleos. Life less ordinary.
As I look deep into my crystal ball, I see your future. Bright and full of promise. Oh!
Yes?
I see.
Yes?
I see.
What? What is it? What do you see?
it's gone.
Lost your picture or need to improve your picture quality? Call Jim's Antennas. With technicians on the road all over SA, we'll have it fixed in no time. Call 131 546 or visit jimsantennas.com.au.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
19 minutes after 7, we've been running a trial referendum for shop trading deregulation this morning on 5AA Breakfast that'll run through till 9 o'clock. The real thing, should it make its way through Parliament this week, we voted on at the next state election. State Treasurer Rob Lucas joins us now on 5AA Breakfast. Treasurer, good morning.
Morning, fellas.
Is there any chance the referendum bill doesn't get through Parliament?
Well, that'll ultimately be up to the Labor Party and the crossbenchers. So the process is, as you probably understood, you can only have a referendum if a bill passes Parliament to allow the referendum to be conducted. So it would be the first referendum in South Australia in almost 30 years. We had the electoral reform referendum in the early 1990s, and that process was you pass a bill in Parliament which allows this particular legislation to pass or not. So, and the people vote. So it'll be a simple choice for people. Do they want to join the rest of Australia and be allowed to shop on Boxing Days and Easter Mondays and before 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings, for example, if the shops want to open?
Rob, we've got a good relationship here at 5AA, and I mean in a personal sense because we've got to know them over the years through our commercial relationships with a lot of smaller businesses, people like the Chanellas and, the Drake's Foodlands, a lot of the independent, smaller retailers. We run Meat Tray Friday every Friday where we quite deliberately shine a light on the little corner butcher stores that are still out there doing a great job here in Adelaide. How can you make sure that all of those people I just mentioned don't get caught in this sort of Coles/Woolworths pincer movement when you go to an open slather economy?
Look, South Australians at Pembo will always continue to support their independent retailers. They have a special niche in our market. I mean, the reality is for the last 3 years, as you fellows know, I've been using the ministerial powers exemption to allow trading on Boxing Days, Easter Monday, extended hours, Black Friday, and those sorts of things. And everyone said if we did that, the independent retailers would all go out of business and there'd be nothing left. The reality is lots of South Australians continue to support the independent retailers for exactly the reasons that you've just indicated. They're the backbone of a particular neighbourhood, they support their community, sport and the like, and they'll continue to have a strong presence in South Australia. But the situation is it's just going to be a simple choice for people. Do we allow, I guess, the same freedom of choice in the suburbs of Adelaide as already exists in Mount Barker and the rest of country South Australia, and to a significant degree in the CBD. It's only the suburbs of Adelaide where we have these crazy restrictions. And, the independent retailers you're talking about are still thriving in country areas in South Australia. In Mount Barker, for example, you can trade there Christmas Day, Good Friday, Anzac morning, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. It's completely deregulated in regional South Australia, starting from Mount Barker outwards. So independent retailers will always continue to have a strong presence in our South Australian market.
Rob Lucas, State Treasurer, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Alice.
23 minutes after 7, you can vote now, a little referendum on this same question, 8223 0088. Text us on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line. Leave your comment in the 5AA Facebook or YouTube live stream, or jump on Twitter, and we've got the poll running there. We can poll all the data, and Lucy's out there crunching the numbers as we speak.
We have had a couple of texts from Mount Barker residents saying, we love it up here, it's great. So that's regarded as the start of rural South Australia, is it, Mount Barker?
Which is pretty peculiar if you've been up there any time recently.
No, exactly.
23 after 7, let's talk sport. Used vehicle stock always changing at North Point Toyota Hillcrest Prospect and Port Augusta. It is the North Point way. Last night, Rowie on the Sports Show spoke with Chris Davies, who's Port's GM of football, and he spoke about why the club decided to wear the Guernsey in the rooms, that is the prison bar's top, after the showdown.
Did someone from the club ring the AFL for approval, and whose idea was it for you guys to wear your heritage jumper post-game?
Not that I'm aware of. No one called the AFL with regard to wearing the prison bars after the game. It was a discussion that was had, I think, from a few of our leaders. I was involved in it. I'm trying to think of who else. Tom, our leadership group, Cam were involved in the discussion. The decision was made to do it, and obviously we were good enough to get the win on the weekend in order for us to do it and pay some respect to our people who obviously turned up in force with their prison bars on.
Well, not everyone has a prison bar, because some of them aren't old enough to remember it. It just smacked to me as a cheap stunt, really, to have a crack back at Eddie in the AFL.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not going to do too much here, Graham. I don't think to change your opinion of our footy club, and I think from our end, we wanted to do it in order to, as I say, pay that respect. If I think we've been vocal enough on this issue that if we really wanted to poke the Collingwood Footy Club, the AFL, or even Eddie, that we would have done it in a far more public sense than that, as our chairman has done over time. So, no, this was just purely to show our people that it was an issue that our players and our footy staff cared about as well.
I think we're dead right about Corns. He's not going to change his mind. Probably after the 1990 grand final, it was a bit of a decisive moment, that one.
I think we're officially at the point in this whole discussion debate where you're either passionate about it and you saw it play out to a satisfactory way on the weekend, or you'd be happy never to hear about it ever mentioned again.
I think Koshy's actually getting to that point. I spoke to him yesterday after the show. We were just texting each other back and forth, and I think he sort of feels like yesterday was his sort of line in the sand. He's not going to keep hammering on about it.
I think the real
endless circular debate with Maguire.
The real footy question that Port fans at the moment are concerned about is what kind of suspension Scott Lycett's going to get. Our Albion correspondent Dave Lloyd sent us a message a little bit earlier saying the way he sees it, and you're looking at precedent with Alex Neil-Bullen's suspension from Melbourne last year, he thinks 4 weeks.
4
weeks based on how it's been assessed in the past. 2 to me feels fair. A lot of interstate football scribes are saying 3. 4 would seem to be... 4 to me is reserved for when you do things that are not a footy action.
Yeah, totally.
You run at someone with
That's
a view
like
just to
whacking
knock
someone
them
in the
out.
head.
Yeah, you swing an elbow. You're doing things that aren't football. I think a tackle's still a football movement. Was it careless and it hurt a bloke? Yeah. It was probably designed to hurt? Yeah. It's still a footy action. And I reckon that's got to matter. It can't be assessed the same way as an errant elbow or running at a bloke when your only aim is to iron him out. That's not a footy action, as I see it. I don't think that's necessarily an interpretation that the tribunal will make. But I think
Lycett's character has to come into it.
That's what all eyes will be on tonight as well. So that's a big footy story. I tell you what, huge program Rowi's got coming up tonight. The Big Easy, Elliot Himmelberg will be on from the Crows. Kevin Sheedy on the program. Dipper, Treaders, someone from Port, as in a power player, and someone from the Thunderbirds as well. Massive program coming up a little bit later tonight. 27 after 7. I just had to chuckle to myself. I saw some data come through, David, on vaccination numbers out of the United States. They've had a little bit of what they're calling, what's the turn and phrase? Pushback, as in they haven't quite maintained their current rate. They had 1.88 million doses in the last day. The 7-day average is 2.12 million, and they've distributed some 262 million doses in total. That said, and this gives you a sense of how far behind the 8 ball we are, they're pretty excited about the fact that soon there'll be an uptick because they're starting to do the 12 to 15-year-olds. It's 28 minutes after 7, and that was sport. We're going to take a break and be back with more in a moment.
Got a picture of your dream bathroom in your head? Then your builder or project manager saying, we can't get that in Adelaide? Well, there's a great chance you can. Just ask for ABK Supplies, Adelaide Bathroom and Kitchen Supplies. As a local independent specialist, ABK Supplies has a massive range of brands, not just the ones your builder is stuck with. Get your dream bathroom or kitchen renovation products sooner. Ask for ABK Supplies. Go to abksupplies.com.au or see the showroom, Lower North East Road, opposite Dernicourt Village.
So, why go with NRG Solar?
My first contact with NRG Solar was through Michael. He had a look around the house, had a look around the roof. We have particular problems with trees, so he assessed the situation, made some calculations, discussed the options with me. What I liked most about the visit was that Michael was prepared to explain things in simple language to us and look at the options and just basically being professional.
Visit nrgsolar.com.au.
The Barossa Valley is a place where things mature well and the locals really appreciate good vintage, which is why it makes sense to make the vine change and call the Barossa home. Barossa Village in Angaston, Tanunda and Nuriutpa gives you the retirement lifestyle you deserve. 1, 2 and 3 bedroom homes are now available in safe connected communities under an hour from the city. Mature well and let it breathe at Barossa Village. Find out more at barossavillage.org. Here at FIVEaa, we're all about supporting local. Here's who you can support around Adelaide.
Invest in country quality outdoor blinds direct from the manufacturer and save. Visit countryblinds.com.au. Anyone can experience a cardiac condition and it can bring uncertainty to your life. If you need support, reach out. Heartbeat SA's reassurance officers. Visit heartbeatsouthaaustralia.org.au.
FIVEaa, supporting local business.
Get in here. It's Sheeds. We don't have the time to mess around. We can't afford any more downtime and we need a result. It's about trust, and for hydraulic hose repairs, Ryco 24/7 are the ones. They'll get to you wherever you are. Their vans are on the road with fully qualified repairers and they are supported by that other great South Australian team, BL Shipway, who I've known for over 30 years. Call Ryco 24/7 on 133247 or visit ryco247.com.au.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 16 today with the 7:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Keep your body in shape with Physio Extra Clinical Pilates and group exercise classes. PhysioExtra.com.
Shop trading hours are in the spotlight again. The ongoing debate over deregulation is headed for a referendum at the next state election in March 2022. Treasurer Rob Lucas will put the wheels in motion this week.
We'll be introducing the legislation into Parliament this week, and then over the coming weeks the Legislative Council will have an opportunity to vote on the legislation. The legislation has to be supported by the Parliament firstly. We can't just hold a referendum.
Spending measures. A series of announcements have already been made designed to continue Australia's recovery from the COVID downturn. Most spending is geared toward infrastructure. Senior PwC economist Jeremy Thorpe says now is a good time to examine industrial relations laws.
What we want to see in this budget effectively is a roadmap for future reform. Even if it's not in this budget, we hope that there are pointers in the budget speech or in some of the spending initiatives that suggest that coming down the track is future microeconomic reform.
The annual NAPLAN assessment begins today with over 1 million students across the country taking part. 9's Sophie Clark has more.
Data from this year's assessment will be particularly important. It's the first test to take place in 2 years after the pandemic forced the cancellation of last year's program. 70% of schools will participate online in preparation for a full transition to the digital resource in 2022. It's supposed to determine whether or not students in years 3, 5, 7 and 9 are developing their literacy and numeracy skills and better informed decisions about learning improvements.
0 coronavirus-related deaths have been reported in England, Scotland and Northern Ireland in the latest 24-hour period. People in the UK will be able to hug each other with caution when COVID restrictions are further eased from the 17th of May. The size of gatherings will increase and pubs and restaurants will be able to serve people indoors. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says it's a milestone in the pandemic.
This unlocking amounts to a very considerable step on the road back to normality, and I am confident that we will be able to go further.
Prince Harry and Oprah are teaming up for a new TV show. The pair, announcing their series on mental health titled The Me You Can't See, will begin airing from the 21st of May, and it will include names like Lady Gaga and Glenn Close. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
And we've got a Port Adelaide ruckman heading to the tribunal tonight, Tom Wren.
Yeah, Scott Lycett, it's been a much spoken about incident already. He's set to be facing the tribunal, Mel, and it's expected he will be suspended for that tackle on Crows midfielder Ned McHenry. Power Football Operations Manager Chris Davies telling Rowie and Cornsey they'll accept the punishment that comes their way.
Pleasingly, we were able to talk to Ned McHenry after the game, and Scott Lycett has spoken to him since. Clearly, we don't want that in the game. We all know that. And, Scott will have to go to the tribunal and plead a case, which is, that it wasn't intentional and then mitigate the penalty.
Still on football, Daniel Rioli and Shai Bolton are unlikely to be sanctioned by Richmond after being involved in a nightclub fight on the weekend. The scuffle was sparked by Rioli's girlfriend being subjected to inappropriate behaviour. Bolton was the big casualty and will undergo surgery on a broken wrist. Coach Damien Hardwick has defended both players and says the incident highlights the scrutiny the game's stars are put under.
The media will become fixated on the outcome. But the situation is the players are entitled to live a life, but the fact of the matter is they're different. They've got to sort of, they're really in a bubble in a way. They've got to be careful about where they go. And, once again, it's another reminder about these situations can occur if they go out.
Alex de Minaur has lost his match at the Rome Masters. De Minaur went down in straight sets to world number 90, Gianluca Maga. John Millman will be in action tonight. And in some soccer news to finish, Burnley's beaten Fulham 2-0 in their EPL clash this morning. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
Road's looking pretty good this morning, which is nice for a start to a Tuesday. Ranella Southern Expressway flying well from Majors Road through to Seacombe Road. Oaklands Park, Oaklands Road flying well from Morford Road to Marion Road. And some roadworks to look out for today. Crafers West, the freeway down track near Measdays Bridge. That's the inbound lane closed for works. So expect a few delays and speed restrictions both directions there. A couple of speed cameras today. Penfold Road, McGill and Ryde Street at Evanston. Doing a lot more driving nowadays? UltraTune can ensure your car is safe for the road with highly qualified technicians and a 5-star CanStar rating. Search UltraTune to find a service centre near you. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Heading for a toppage of 16 today and cloudy. Tomorrow sunny and 17. Right now it's 11 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
24 minutes to 8, mentioned before the break. Big sports show coming up tonight. Book your next service online, northpointtoyota.com.au. It's the North Point Way. Elliot Himmelberg, Kevin Sheedy, Dipper, Treaders, Port Player, someone from the Thunderbirds as well. If you love sport, you're listening to the Sports Show with Stephen Rowe. Make sure you tune in a little bit later today. The new Japanese ambassador to Australia likes wine, and he said he wants his fellow people in Japan and in Tokyo to be able to enjoy Australian wine, and says that perhaps Japan can fill some of the void left by the dispute we're having currently with China for South Australian winemakers. One of his comments, though, raised a couple of eyebrows from our listeners. He said he wanted to be able to enjoy everything from Penfolds to Fruity Lexia in Tokyo.
He's not fussy.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's a good point. He's not afraid to say what there is a time and a place for a Fruity Lexia. So we're asking you this morning at 8223 for a $100 Waller's gift card to defend something that's got a bad reputation. Be proud about it. For example, Andy Rusgar, our producer, says, Nickelback, not that bad. Right?
Stand by for the Andy Rusgion top 5 Nickelback songs list.
The Andy's list might be coming up a little bit later. I'll say this.
Didn't they sing With Arms Wide Open? Is that them?
No.
Who's that?
That was Creed, I think.
Creed, yes.
Now, I've made this point on radio before, much maligned. Reality TV. I'm here to defend it. Your brain doesn't need to be engaged 24 hours a day.
You got into that show Naked and Afraid, didn't you, Will?
Oh, the Naked and Afraid's great, but there's a lot of them. It's all right to be in brain neutral from time to time.
I agree. Yeah, you need.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, exactly.
And everyone will come out and be all, what do you do? Your brain's rotting.
I would die on a hill defending the Chico roll. I think Chico rolls are sensational.
Good.
I love them. They taste fantastic.
8223 defend something with a bad reputation. You win yourself a $100 Waller's gift card. Phil Curry from the Australian Financial Review joins us in Canberra on Federal Budget Day. Speaking of engaging the brain momentarily, morning to you, Phil.
Or a bad reputation, yeah.
No, I did. I tossed that one aside, mate. Your reputation's impeccable.
Well, Phil, a lot of your reputation comes from your longevity and high standard of service. How many budgets is this now, mate? What is it today?
About 320 or something. About 23, I think.
23?
Or 24? Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
My God, that is quite a knock.
It's sad, isn't it?
Oh, well, I can remember my birthday's in May. I spent a few birthdays locked in the federal budget lockup. That's pretty depressing.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, no, I did my first budget the year after Carlton last won a grand final. That's how long it's been.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Well, will you ever seen a budget with in a numerical sense, Phil? Today's is just going to be off the charts, isn't it?
Look, it will be. If it's not a pre-election budget, then it's going to be a pretty good dress rehearsal, I think. The way to describe it, the government sort of gave itself a lead pass a couple of weeks ago to keep spending go rather than tighten the purse strings now that we're sort of through the worst of the economic effects of the pandemic. So, yeah, they're just going to go on this stampede to try and drive unemployment down below 5%. We'll know in a few hours when they think they'll get there. I suspect it'll be either next financial year or the one after. So it's just, just spending. It's not like sort of just wild amounts of money on everything. It'd be targeted at job creation programs, especially in the services sector like aged care, mental health, disabilities. But we need, there is a massive shortage of people, so they don't only need to create, they'll just need to train people to do them. So there'll be a big skill factor. There'll be stuff to get people in from overseas, best and brightest. There'll be more money on infrastructure. So everything will have an aim of just generating employment and getting that number right down. And they sort of argue that once you do that, you spend much more wealth, you're making much more income tax. That helps the bottom line enormously, and then you sort of do all the nasty stuff after the election if you have to.
Will there be a date, Phil, at which Australia is no longer in deficit? Because that was such a feature of the Howard and Costello era, and it became a point of pride for the Liberal Party to say, they inherited the whatever it was, 10 billion black hole from Beazley.
I don't think we're going to see it today, Dave. Like we were sort of out of the we're back in balance at the budget before the pandemic, and then they had to spend like 267 billion or whatever it is, and the budget in October predicted deficits to the end of the decade. I think today's probably will too, because where they make up and all this extra revenue from income tax and stuff, they're going to spend on aged care. There's been some pretty heavy spending, about $18 billion alone just on aged care for 4 years, but that will roll over. That's what's called structural. That's spending that happens year after year. I think we'll learn today the National Disability Insurance Scheme is blowing out to now $32 billion a year, almost the same amount as Medicare.
Wow. So
there's a lot of built-in expense in the budget. So I suspect if they have another one before the election, if we have another budget this time next year, there'll probably be some sort of forecast on the horizon when we're back in balance, and that'll be their pitch to the election. But I'd be surprised if there's a surplus or a balance on the horizon today.
Phil, do you have a sense that there's any chance that we'll get some sort of a definitive statement around when international borders might reopen today? Because I just struggle to see how you calculate a budget over the next 4 years in the absence of knowing what kind of skilled migration we're going to get to fill employment shortages or tourism or establish new trade markets and all the sorts of things that come with that.
That's right. Well, the best they can do is make assumptions. They can assume based on what we know and how things are tracking overseas. So in October, they said the borders should be open, I think, by about October this year. Now, today it's going to push it back into next year, sometime into next year because of India and things like that. And the trouble is with the vaccine, even though it's being rolled out, it's still, I think the case still hasn't been shown that if you have the vaccine, you can infect other people. So even if we open all the borders and everyone's vaccinated, people can still transmit it to unvaccinated people. So this stuff's the subject of medical research and medical advice. It's just not conclusive enough yet for them to make a thing. So we've got the government a bit all over the place. The PM said on the weekend indefinite, but the budget will say, I think today, probably middle of next year. But that's what's called an assumption, and it's and they're not. And it'll change again. It'll change again when but you have these assumptions and you work towards those.
Yeah, good stuff, Phil. Enjoy number 23. Phil Curry, the national political editor from the Fin Review. We'll catch up again on Friday. Thanks, mate.
It's a 16 to 8. Can you just walk me through that? There's an element of this that I struggle with, the whole transmission of the vaccine. Once vaccinated, you can still pass on to people that don't have it. If we get to a point where everyone who is eligible to can have access to the vaccine and can get it, and everyone who needs to get it has got it, we're not opening up to protect who exactly? People who objected to having it in the first place?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To me, that doesn't feel like Now, I'm sure people listening are going, hang on, there's a cohort of people who, for medical reasons, can't get it. I think that's a better reason. But we can't surely keep borders closed indefinitely to protect people who opted out of getting vaccinated.
Yeah, that's right. And the other way of looking at it is, like, I'm getting mine this afternoon at 1:30 at the showgrounds. But if we haven't got COVID in the community, like, what's the point of actually getting it anyway? You know, if nothing's going to change.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, there's a gap in that I struggle with.
I wouldn't have said this 6 months ago, but it feels to me like the way Boris Johnson's approaching this now is actually good.
Mm.
You know, I think the idea of having green list countries and, like, I mean, why aren't we talking about having some sort of shuttle flight system to Singapore right now?
We should be.
That's the sort of stuff that the Fed should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's give away a $100 Walters gift card. The new Japanese ambassador to Australia said he wants more South Australian wine in Tokyo and in Japan, and said everything from Penfolds grain to Fruity Lexia he wants to be able to drink. Bad reputation, the old Fruity Lexia. Unwarranted, says the Japanese ambassador. So we want you to be like the Japanese ambassador and defend something that you think's got an unfairly bad rap. Dave in Clarence Gardens, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, thanks, Dave.
Car salesmen. Why do car salesmen get such a bad rap? They're salesmen like anything else. They've got a deal to put together. They put the deal together, and if you're not smart enough to get a better deal, that's your problem.
Oh.
I mean, if you come into my butcher shop and say, what's the best steak you got? I don't tell you chuck steak, do I? So what's the difference?
Dave, that is a great call.
Yeah, I like
Thank
that.
you.
That was
Good way
good.
to get us
That was
started. All
good.
right. Ian in Morford Vale, good morning.
Yes, good morning, guys. Defend green death.
Oh, yeah. Something better.
Yes, something better. It's not that bad. It really isn't. But anyway.
They re-released it about 3 months ago with the vintage can. The vintage can design.
These are great calls.
The good people at
Keep
Southwark.
them coming. We're going to hold the $100 Walters gift card for a moment because I like where this is heading. 8223 Defend something that you think unfairly has a bad reputation. You can text us too on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line 044808 1395 14 to 8. Time to check traffic thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive driven vehicles. That's Dave Potter Honda.
Around Crayford is quite busy today. The freeway down track near Measdays Bridge. The inbound lane is closed for works there. Delays building citybound. And the freeway up track at Crayford just before the tunnels. Works there with restrictions as well. Getting busy for the drive-in. Southern Expressway to South Road. Cross Road at South Road. And South Road at Anzac Highway. Leave early if you're heading via South Road. With Amazon Prime, you can stream Amazon Originals and movies while also receiving free delivery on Prime eligible orders. Start your 30-day free trial today. $6.99 per month thereafter. T's and C's apply. Amazon Prime. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
The Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery is giving you the chance to win something really special. A stunning Scott Salisbury home on the Esplanade at South Brighton with the most incredible views. Fully furnished and professionally decorated and landscaped, this home comes with everything you could ever want or need, including $1 million cash. It's a $3.4 million grand prize and it could all be yours. Get your tickets today at homelottery.com.au and join the fight for cures, better treatments and improved care. Licence M13989.
This July, a world premiere event. Eclipse. Pink Floyd Orchestrated. Southern Cross Symphony and an ensemble of Australia's finest rock musicians reignite the awe-inspiring sound of Pink Floyd in all its glory. 40 musicians and singers perform all the hits, Us and Them, Comfortably Numb, and Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Saturday, July 17 at Festival Theatre. Book now at Bass.
Now, what about the people at Westside Energy? They live to give. They're local, they're well established, and they are trusted suppliers of solar home batteries. And what's more, they've got an incredible offer for our excellent 5AA listeners.
I like the sound of this. When you purchase any premium range solar system or home battery, Westside Energy will take care of your last quarter's electricity bill. Oh, that's right. Westside Energy will pay your last power bill for you. You can strike it off. That's one less bill in your bill folder.
Tell you what, I wish I'd paid my last power bill. This is a strictly limited offer. Some terms and conditions apply. There's already many wonderful benefits from going solar and having home battery storage. Now here's one more. from the great people at Westside Energy. Buy any of their premium range solar systems or home batteries, and Westside Energy will pay your last quarter's electricity bill. Terms and conditions apply.
If you did get a solar and battery from these guys, this may actually bankrupt them. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure they've thought this one through. But anyway, take advantage of it. For more information, jump onto their website. Visit westsideenergy.com.au. That's westsideenergy.com.au.
Hi, I'm Stephen Marshall. This past year has been a tough one for every South Australian. But because of your toughness and your teamwork, we now enjoy a safer place to live, work and raise a family. We're getting on with our recovery plan, creating new industries and new jobs and investing $16.7 billion in infrastructure, health and education to make our state the best place to live in the world. My team and I will continue to work hard to create a future for all South Australians. We're on track, so thank you.
Spoken and authorised by S. Marshall, Liberal Party, Adelaide.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
10 to 8. I like this from Joe in Henley Beach on the Telstra Storm Mount Barker text line. Joe says, defending the black skivvies as seen on 5AA Breakfast Show. Look out for the man. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. We're defending things that have an undeservedly bad reputation for the $100 Wohlers gift card. Alec is in Clemzig. Good morning to you, Alec.
Good morning.
What are you defending, Alec?
Brussels sprouts.
Hey!
Okay.
Hey, Alec, you're a man after my own heart. Do you like them, mate?
Yes.
How do you?
They're not too bad.
How do you cook them?
Normally, we have like a steamer oven, so we normally put them in that, and they come out pretty nice. We normally put some broccolis with them as well.
Do you have just a parent who's a really good cook, maybe, Alec? Is your mum or dad really good in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Hey,
must
Alec,
be good.
I'll give you a tip. You sound like a healthy young man. There's a slightly unhealthy way to enjoy them too, where you chop them in halves, get olive oil and put some butter in with the olive oil too, really hot in the pan, and fry them with bacon, and they are excellent.
Hey, how old are you, Alec?
I'm 11.
Oh, you're off to school today?
Yeah.
Have you got, you 11, you've got the NAPLAN test today, or is that not your year level?
Yeah. I'm in year 5.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Are you nervous, or are you not worried about it?
Kind of, but
Do you have to do it in year 3 as well?
yeah.
Oh, okay. So how long does it take? How long do you sit there for to do it?
I don't know. Today we have the writing test, which is, I think, 45 minutes of writing,
You'll be right.
yeah.
Don't stress at all about it, Alec. You've got
Sounds-
your whole life ahead of you, son. No need to get too freaked out early on about these things.
Sounds like you've got a good grasp of the language anyway, Alec. Hey, all the best
Yeah.
today. Thank you for calling in.
I reckon Alec deserves a Wohlers voucher.
Yeah, okay. Let's do that.
Good on you, Alec. You might be our youngest listener. 11. What about that?
Congrats to you, Alec. $100
Good on you,
Wohlers
Alec.
gift card coming your way. Keep eating the Brussels sprouts.
We have a thing at our house where certain members of our family are in the Brussels Sprouts Club because that dish I described, if you do that on a Sunday morning with some good toasted proper bread, crack a couple of eggs in with the Brussels sprouts and the bacon, it is the best breakfast.
Good stuff. All right, Chelsea Carey for 9 News joins us to take us through the weather over the next couple of days. Morning to you, Chelsea.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, I'm team Brussels sprouts as well, so good move.
Yeah, they're much maligned. I don't know why.
No, they're amazing. I stand with Alex. So, but it is quite wintry out there today. In fact, I just had a look at the radar, and there's still some shower activity across the southern suburbs and through the hills. It's only looking pretty light, though. We're really going to have a mostly cloudy day across Adelaide, and it's going to stay cool. Right now, it's sitting on 11 degrees. We only have a top of 16 for the city, and in the hills, it's even fresher with a maximum of only 13 for Mount Barker. So, feeling very wintry. Now tonight the cloud will break up, and under the clear skies we are in for some very chilly temperatures, so make sure you grab that extra blanket as you head to bed tonight. It's going to be down to 5 degrees in the city and down to 3 in the hills, so it's It's also going to be very cold through the region, so we're likely going to see some frost across the state tomorrow morning. Plenty of sunshine during the day, though. Really, it's looking quite gorgeous tomorrow for getting out and about. We have a sunny 17 on the way for the city. Then this front is going to roll through on Thursday, so another few millimetres of rain up for grabs. A shower or two lingering on Friday. It's going to stay cool over the weekend with just the odd shower around. But, guys, we don't have one day over 18 degrees for the next 7 days. So definitely time to pull out the old winter wardrobe and those skivvies, of course.
Absolutely.
Good advice. Good on you, Chelsea.
No
Thank you for that.
on that front.
Chelsea Carey from 9 News.
Surprised you're not wearing your skivvy today, Will.
6 to 8. No, I've done enough for the world of the skivvy. No need to move on to a new challenge. All right, it's time for John Blake, in fact, thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight, distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast, 13 13 64.
How blessed are those of gentle spirit! They shall have the earth for their possession. How blessed are those who hunger and thirst to see right prevail.
G'day everybody, David Kosh. I'm the president of the Port Adelaide Football Club and this is my senior coach Ken Hinkley.
How are you?
We've never been to a Sermon on the Mount before, so...
Will you be quiet?
Oh, sorry, I was just saying we've never been to one of these before. I do think Jesus would look better in a prison bar's top instead of that white robe, though.
Do you mind? I can't hear a word he's saying.
Oh, come on now. I think you've got a bit of a nasty streak in you there.
I was only asking to shut up so he can hear what he's saying, Big Nose.
Hey, don't call him Big Nose. This is David Kosh, the president of our club.
Well, he has got a big nose.
Listen, Einstein knows I'm no oil painting, but...
What did he say there? I missed that.
I don't know. I was too busy talking to Big Nose.
Listen, stop calling me Big Nose. I'm big enough and ugly enough to know that I've got a decent-sized honker, but...
What was that bit?
Not sure. I didn't really hear that.
See, if you haven't been going on, we'd have heard that, Big Nose.
Look, stop calling me Big Nose.
Better keep listening. Might be a bit about blessed are the big noses. Oh, lay off him.
Yeah, who are you, Eddie Maguire?
Oh, you're not so bad yourself, conkface.
Now, that's my senior coach. Don't call him conkface.
Where are you two from? Nose City?
No, we're from Adelaide, and we're a little bit sick of you Victorians thinking you own the AFL.
Oh, shut up, Big Nose.
Right, that's it. We're going to rub the black and white into all of you every chance we get if you persist in getting personal.
Listen, I'm only telling the truth. You have got a very big nose.
Right, I've given you enough warnings. I'll be going on Sunrise, and David and Will, I'll be promoting the prison bar Guernsey every opportunity I get.
Come on, let's go to the stoning.
Yeah, good idea, Caro.
More from John Blake after 8:30 when we go behind closed doors. Troy on the live feed's coming for your patch, David Penberthy. He's made the point in defending something with an unfair, bad reputation. Store-bought chicken stock.
Fair enough. A lot of people have got up me about that, including my mother-in-law, Ros, the other night. She said, what's wrong with buying chicken stock at the supermarket? You snob.
3 minutes to 8.
Cashback.
Low rate.
Cashback.
Low rate.
Take out a new home loan with Credit Union SA and you get to choose cashback or a really low rate. Apply online, over the phone, in branch or we'll come to you. Credit Union SA, like a bank, but better. For a limited time only, conditions, fees and lending criteria apply. Offer available for new business only where the LVR is 80% or less. Minimum loan amounts and exclusions apply to each offer.
What's on your bucket list? Parachuting? Climbing Everest? Swimming with sharks? There's one thing that should be on everyone's bucket list. A will and estate plan. A will, power of attorney and advanced care directive speak for you when you can't. They look after you and your loved ones. A will and estate plan drawn up by Donlan Lawyers is peace of mind for everyone. For wills and estate planning, contact Donlan Lawyers or visit donlanlawyers.com. Put it on your bucket list.
Now, the word traditional is bandied about quite a bit, but when Jarmer's Kitchen talk traditional, the only thing they're talking about is the traditional Austrian schnitzel, the real deal in schnitzel.
Oh,
they invented the schnitzel.
Now you're talking.
That's the Austrians, not Jarmer's.
Well,
you wouldn't know that, though. You'd think Jarmer's invented it.
The Austrians might have invented it, but Jarmer's perfected it. Owner and chef Chris Jarmer, you like what I did there? Creates an authentic schnitzel made with the best cuts of veal, pork or chicken. Here's the big difference. Jarmer's schnitzels haven't been pre-crumbed and sitting in a fridge waiting for someone to order, treating you like a schmuck. Chris wouldn't have that. His schnitzels are only crumbed when you order. Then they're cooked in fresh canola oil, served with traditional potato and cucumber salad, along with a topping of your choice, including the favourite range of unique palmies. Unbeatable.
We're going there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we are.
Down in the diary, I'm going to schnitzel up on arrival. If you want to see what a real traditional schnitzel is meant to look and taste like, it's got to be Jarmer's Kitchen, near the underpass at Bowden. Fancy made easy. jarmerskitchen.com.au.
Bad news. Your electricity bill is about to come in. But here's some good news from Westside Energy. They'll pay it for you. When you purchase any premium range solar system or home battery from Westside Energy, they'll take care of your last quarter's electricity bill. That's right, Westside Energy will pay for your last power bill. It's a strictly limited offer and some terms and conditions apply. For more information, visit westsideenergy.com.au. I feel better already.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Breaking 8 coming up in a moment. Also, Nick Xenophon on why you could be sued for using the word Uggs to describe what we all know as Uggs.
We are getting a mountain of texts through still about the question of shop trading hours deregulation, which the Premier and Treasurer Rob Lucas, who was on the show earlier, have promised to try to make a referendum question at next year's state election. Interesting to hear the views direct from people who work in retail, such as Polar in Mile End, who writes, many retail workers have no pattern to the hours or days they work. They could be finishing late, then starting an early shift the next day. They could be working any of the 7 days in the week. This makes it difficult to spend time with family and friends, and it's also physically wearing. Any loosening of hours will impact on their health, both physically and mentally. Thanks for that, Paula.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio, and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 16 today with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Trust Physio Extra. Norwood, Puri Street, Marion, Hallicove, Seaford and Victor Harbour. PhysioExtra.com.
State Labor is not a fan of the government's plan to put the deregulation of shop trading hours to a referendum. The Libs, which have been flying the flag for the changes, say it's now time for the people to decide. The Treasurer will introduce a new bill to Parliament this week, paving the way for the proposed referendum on the issue at the March 2022 election. The opposition's Stephen Mulligan doesn't support extended shop trading hours.
It's unbelievable the government would pursue a deregulation of shop trading hours agenda while our state's got the highest unemployment rate in the nation and we're the only state to have lost jobs since the beginning of the pandemic. Deregulation is bad for shoppers, it's bad for jobs, it's bad for locally owned small businesses, and that's why it hasn't been supported by the Parliament.
84,000 students from more than 700 schools will take part in NAPLAN testing this week. Education Minister John Gardner says the tests were put off in 2020 due to COVID.
NAPLAN's been going for a bit over 10 years, but with the exception of last year, where obviously it was due to take place just as the pandemic was really starting to see lockdowns happening around the country. So the decision was taken to pause NAPLAN for a year. This will be the first time it's been done since 2019.
Tonight's budget will show Australia has made a significant recovery from the COVID downturn. The deficit is likely to be around $53 billion lower, driven by a major jobs boost. The federal government will outline a series of spending measures to continue the economic momentum. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says we're in a good position compared to other countries.
Australia's strong position today is not the result of luck. Australia makes its own luck. And tonight's budget will lay out the Morrison government's economic plan to secure Australia's recovery.
The COVID variant in India is now classified as a variant of concern by the World Health Organization. There's no evidence yet that treatments or vaccines are less effective against it, but WHO senior scientist Maria Vankova says they're monitoring the situation closely.
Is some available information to suggest increased transmissibility of B1617. There is a preprint that is out, so this is a paper that has not undergone peer review, and it's of a limited number of patients suggesting that there is some reduced neutralization.
Meantime, there have been 0 coronavirus-related deaths in England, Scotland and Northern Ireland in the past 24 hours. The 2022 Golden Globes are under siege amid the ongoing controversy surrounding the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. NBC has announced it won't air the award show next year. And now Tom Cruise has returned his 3 statues, one for Born on the 4th of July, Jerry Maguire and Magnolia. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
It's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Adelaide will train at West Lakes this morning as they turn their attention to Sunday's twilight clash against West Coast in Perth. The Crows have some injury concerns and will be without forward Lockie Murphy for up to 10 weeks with an ankle injury. Ned McHenry will also miss the match because of concussion. Power ruckman Scott Lycett will front the tribunal tonight to learn the sanction for that tackle that left McHenry concussed. Meantime, GWS forward Jeremy Finlayson and Gold Coast Tuke Miller have both accepted 1-match bans from the match review officer for striking and rough conduct, respectively. In the English Premier League, a Chris Wood strike on the stroke of half-time has secured Burnley a 2-0 win over Fulham.
It comes for Chris Wood to strike, and he's in such exceptional form. Every strike at the moment is right into the back of the net.
That audio thanks to Optus. Now the Whites' defeat means they will be relegated. A planned visit by International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach to Japan ahead of the Tokyo Games has been postponed after the government extended the coronavirus state of emergency in the region. Former Opal Lauren Jackson says she's confident Liz Cambage and the Basketball Australia will work out their differences in time for the Olympics. Cambage last week threatened to boycott the Games over what she called whitewashing of 2 promotional photo shoots. And the Adelaide 36ers are in action tonight when they take on Illawarra. The Sixers aiming for a 4th straight win, which would keep them in touch with the top 4. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
Seeing quite heavy delays on the drive in around Crayford's West on the freeway. That's the down track near Measdays Bridge. That inbound lane is closed for works today, and quite heavy delays city-bound. Leave early if you're heading that way. Also delays too on the freeway up track. That's just before the tunnels with restrictions in place as well. Getting busy Southern Expressway to South Road and Cross Road at South Road. Couple of speed cameras today. Robe Terrace, North Adelaide, Ryde Street, Evanston. When you fill up, make sure you fuel the feeling with Shell V-Power, the premium fuel designed to clean and protect your car's engine. Look for Shell V-Power the next time you fill up your car. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Cloudy for you Tuesday, a top of 16. Tomorrow sunny and 17. Thursday a shower or 2, 18. Right now it's 12 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
In the last hour on Adelaide's 5AA.
New Japanese ambassador to Australia said he wants more South Australian wine in Tokyo and in Japan, and said everything from Penfolds grain to Fruity Lexia he wants to be able to drink. Bad reputation, the old Fruity Lexia. Unwarranted, says the Japanese ambassador. So we want you to be like the Japanese ambassador and defend something that you think's got an unfairly bad rap. Dave in Clarence Gardens, good morning.
Car salesmen. Why do car salesmen get such a bad rap? They've got a deal to put together. They put the deal together, and if you're not smart enough to get a better deal, that's your problem.
Treasurer, good morning.
Morning, fellas.
Is there any chance the referendum bill doesn't get through Parliament?
So the process is you can only have a referendum if a bill passes Parliament to allow the referendum to be conducted. So it would be the first referendum in South Australia in almost 30 years, and the people vote. So it'll be a simple choice for people. Do they want to join the rest of Australia and be allowed to shop on Boxing Days and Easter Mondays and before 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings, for example, if the shops want to open?
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 after 8, we're getting a jump on the referendum and doing it here on 5AA Breakfast between 6 and 9 today through all our channels. That's the Telstra Stumount Barker text line. Calls on 8223 0000, often on air, 5AA Facebook and YouTube live streams. We've got a Twitter poll going. A lot of data coming in. Lucy is sorting through it for us. What's the latest, Luce?
Yep, so again, we've combining them as we go. So for the last 2 hours that has been our show so far, we're still about where we were an hour ago. 67% total are saying yes.
Which is, again, it
Well,
feels,
that's interesting.
It is. It's far more than
Yeah.
the text line is still, which feels still overwhelmingly no.
Yeah, the text line, the calls and the Facebook comments are majority no, but not by much at the moment. It's closing the gap. Twitter only, though, interesting, continues to rise for the yes voters. 77% on Twitter, on our Twitter poll, say yes, 23% say no.
What's interesting is that since 6:30, the trend hasn't really changed that much.
Not really.
Like the yes is still solid.
Yes is still solid, but overwhelmingly, all of our comments have been, loads have been on both sides. So for those who don't or have never worked in retail, say, yes, we want to go to the shops on a Sunday morning. But those who have worked in retail or have family members who are shift workers say, no, we want family time. Clearly, the government hasn't worked in retail themselves. So we're getting both sides.
One point here on the text line, I oppose the deregulation of shop trading hours in SA because until the government opens its own doors on public holidays, why should they force the private sector to operate? That's true. Try renewing your driver's licence at 2 p.m. on a Sunday.
I suppose that they're not compelling anyone to open. You just have the option to open.
Yeah. Well, apart from at a government office.
Yeah,
where
but
you don't open.
But
at
they
all.
just about that text that they're forcing private sector to open.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
No.
Loose,
But the government doesn't either. And it clearly doesn't.
But let's not.
We'll be back before 9 with the big reveal.
Yes, we'll get a final look at the data, Luce. Thank you very much for that. One thing is, it's one of those issues where the no's, well, one side of the debate is more passionate, even if they're not as large.
Yeah, totally.
So the no's are more passionate because they've probably got skin in the game.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of people just scrolling past, clicking yes, which is because more convenience, great. That's the only way it affects me. That's now, the reality of the situation is at a referendum, doesn't matter how passionate you are. It's purely a numerical measure.
It's true, though, that the unpredictability of hours for people in retail is a huge issue.
Absolutely.
Even with a part-time job, like now that my daughter's working, like trying to organise anything on the weekend's almost impossible. And, she gets it and doesn't complain. But, it's one of those things that comes with the territory where you just go, well, that's my private life comes second now.
Yeah. Retail work will be like hospitality work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it would mean.
Yeah.
And that's the large reason, I guess, why a lot of people went into retail is they didn't want to have the unpredictability or hours of hospitality hours.
But it's different if you're a teenager versus a 42-year-old mother of 3.
Sure.
Or father of 3, where, you might be a storeman, for example, working at like a big white goods place, an electrical store. So suddenly you've got very limited ability to plan anything beyond your next roster. And rosters generally only come out, 3 weeks in advance, maybe 2 weeks in advance.
If that, yeah. 11 after 8, it's time for breaking it, ain't
Well, the humble yo-yo has been part of our childhood since the dawn of time. I can remember it seemed to come around sort of every sort of 18 months or so. There'd be a huge craze where every kid in the quadrangle there at Marion Primary was doing walk the dog and around the world and trying to perfect their yo-yo skills. I was excited and pleased yesterday to see that the good people at Coca-Cola have got a collectible range of 4 yo-yos. There's Fanta, Sprite, Coke, and I think there's a Diet Coke one. So I grabbed being a traditionalist, I grabbed a Coke one, took it home for the boys. But I was chatting to the guy at the supermarket, and he said, "Oh, you're lucky you got in for this." And I said, "Oh, are they going like hotcakes?" And he said, "Well, yeah, they are." He said, "But no, the point is, this is apparently going to be the last of the Coca-Cola yo-yo promotions." Now, I've put a call into Coke, and I'm trying to get an answer on this because I'm not sure if this is something where the company has decided to vacate the space or whether there's some sort of new government-mandated restriction or maybe a guideline that the company's decided to adopt. But apparently, this is going to be the last ever yo-yo promotion branded by Coca-Cola Amatil because the company doesn't want to run the risk of being accused of using yo-yos as some sort of soft diplomacy technique to encourage children into a life of abusing soft drinks. Now, I just hate this stuff. Like, if my kids yesterday, on account of playing with a yo-yo for half an hour, are they going to develop Are they going to be morbidly obese by Friday? Like, it just strikes me as just the most pathetic nanny state nonsense. When you consider, too, the way society has changed. Like, these days, most of us, you wouldn't put a Coke in your kid's lunchbox. Everyone's much more attuned to drinking water. Dentally, we're smarter than we ever were. I mean, as a kid, I can remember the Loy's truck coming around every week, and we're all just guzzling the stuff. That company doesn't even exist anymore, as far as I can tell. But the idea that yo-yos are some sort of entry-level drug for big sugar strikes me as just nanny state nonsense writ large. So I'll get back to you on the show tomorrow, folks, with a definitive answer about why the Coke yo-yo looks like it's now going to become a thing of the past.
It happened with fast food too, didn't it? There was a time that the promotions always came with, there was toys. And they, about 5 or 6 years ago, they got dragged through the coals by similar groups for saying that they're now selling the toys, not the food.
Who's just the nicest bloke, and he was involved with a school football program. And he said, we're going to get some McDonald's vouchers for some kids, for the footy kids. Now, one of the parents went berserk. What sort of message does this send? Well, it sends a message that if you're going to run around like maniacs for 3 hours in the mud, having trained once a week and spent a large part of your other time out of school kicking a footy around, like so many kids do, where's the harm in having some fries and a Happy Meal? It's not like you do it every, breakfast, lunch and dinner, but that's just a perfectly normal part of fun, I think. I just cannot for the life of me understand it. So you're going to tell the under-8s that, the good news is that after the Lightning Carnival, they're all going to get together and have some carob bars and a bowl of unsalted cashews.
I think some people prefer it that way. 15 after 8. You did a really lovely thing for me a couple of years back. Yeah, you did. In your quest to convince me that the Ugg boot was a required part of every Australian's wardrobe, you bought me a pair. I was converted. You're right. I was.
Uggs to you, Frederick Road.
Exactly. I was never a fan, but then I got a pair and I realised they are great. Is the day fast approaching where you won't have bought me Ugg boots, but you've bought me sheepskin boots?
You don't bring me Ugg boots.
There is a court case in the US that's been contested by Nick Xenophon that suggests quite strongly that we won't be able to call them Ugg boots here in Australia. It's coming up right after this. Let's check traffic first, thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal on 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles. Dave Potter Honda.
Seeing quite heavy delays at the freeway down track Crayford West near Measdays Bridge. An inbound lane is closed for works there. Delays citybound, leave early if you can. Also delays on the freeway up track, that's just before the tunnels too. Getting busy Southern Expressway to South Road and Cross Road at South Road this morning too. Couple of speed cameras, Murray Street, Angaston and Marion Road at Firle. Have you heard of Amplifon? They're the hearing care professionals. Book your free hearing test today with an Amplifon hearing care professional near you. Call 13-MY-EARS or visit amplifon.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Rowie Sport Show.
Port Adelaide's General Manager of Football, Chris Davies. CD, welcome. Whose idea was it for you guys to wear your heritage jumper post-game?
Yeah, it was a discussion that was had with our leadership group and pay some respect to our people who obviously turned up in force with their prison bars on.
4 p.m. weekdays.
That just smacked to me as a cheap stunt, really, to have a crack back at Eddie in the AFL.
We're talking about celebrating our club's heritage.
Rowie Sport Show on 5AA.
The Isuzu D-Max is the best dual cab ute in the 2021 Drive Car of the Year Awards. Judges said the D-Max has not just moved the game forward, it has created a whole new sport. Powered by a 3-litre turbo diesel engine with wireless Apple CarPlay and 5-star safety, the D-Max is strong, smart and safe. Yes, the D-Max is the 2021 Ute of the Year. Move your game forward. Search Isuzu D-Max.
For most business PC brands, a 4-hour service guarantee means they'll call you back in 4 hours. But at Leader Computers, a 4-hour service guarantee on Leader's business range means they'll come to your worksite and have you back in business inside 4 hours. Leader Computers are local, made here in Adelaide with better service, better support and speedy turnaround times. Live life local. Live life Leader. Leader Computers. Find your local dealer at leadersystems.com.au.
No one wants to spend their weekend in emergency, so if you hurt yourself on a Saturday or Sunday, Dr. Greg Keane says come and see SportsMed instead.
The doctors at our weekend injury clinic can treat any sporting or orthopaedic injuries right away. You won't have to wait all afternoon.
And a standard consult costs less than a private hospital emergency department, right?
Much less.
World-class care without the wait. SportsMed.
Start living life again after your injury.
sportsmed.com.au.
You all set for retirement, mate?
Yeah, my sis will look after me.
Claire, did you win the lotto?
Not my sister, my FIVEaa super income stream. Sis!
Right.
With as little as $80,000 super, Sis works with the pension to provide a steady paycheck even after you retire. CBUS, for all of us. To consider if CBUS is right for you, go to cbussuper.com.au for a PDS.
Renovators are inspired to transform their homes right now, so there's never been a better time to act with Adelaide Bathroom and Kitchen Supplies. ABK Supplies is a local and independent specialist, so they're always accessing quality new brands with exceptional warranties, which means even more renovation options. For dream bathroom and kitchen supplies, ask for ABK Supplies. Go to abksupplies.com.au or see the showroom, Lower North East Road, opposite Dernancourt Village.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
20 minutes after 8, the US Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit has rejected Australian Leather's appeal over the use of the word UGG as a trademark, as in the UGG boot, despite it being a generic term in Australia. And now the suggestion is that the last chance for an appeal is to the US Supreme Court, with the Australian government as an intervening party to support the appeal. Representing the man behind it all is Nick Xenophon, who joins us now on 5AA Breakfast. Nick, good morning to you.
Good morning, and anyone that listened to the appeal hearing as I did last week, when you heard the Court of Appeals, they gave Deckers, the company that owns the UGG trademark, a pretty hard time about this thing called the Doctrine of Foreign Equivalence, which means that if you're a generic term in one country, you can't trademark it in the US or indeed in many other countries. But just over the weekend, they published their reasons, or they just published a 2-line thing saying appeal dismissed without any reasons given whatsoever.
So are you trying to find out what those reasons were, Nick?
We can't. We don't have the right. This is the wonders of the US justice system. We have 90 days to appeal to the US Supreme Court, and Eddie can't do this on his own anymore. Eddie Oiga runs a small company, Australian Leather. He got pinged for selling 13 pairs of UGG boots from his website, which is australianleather.com.au, so it wasn't a .com site. Went to trial in Chicago 2 years ago. You guys covered it back then. Got hit with about over $3 million in court costs and a penalty for using, for breaches of intellectual property. He's appealed to the appeals court. He's done it all on his own. This guy has spent everything he has worked for his entire life on this case and then some. And, he can't do this without the Australian government intervening, because I reckon it's in the national interest to knock out this trademark so UGG comes back to Australia.
So what it means at the moment, Nick, is that any Australian UGG boot manufacturer can produce and sell UGG boots within Australia, but the moment they sell any, and in your mate Eddie's case, 15 pairs was it, in the United States, 13 pairs in the United States, the moment you sell them there, you'll get hit with a ton of bricks because Deckers own the intellectual copyright to the word UGG.
Exactly, but not just there, in 130 other countries around the world, including in Europe, in Asia, Latin America, 130 countries. They've got the market cornered. But the argument is UGG was a generic term in Australia. It's been a generic term for over 60 years. You look up the Oxford English Dictionary, the definition, where it came from, Australian term from the 1960s or before. UGG boots were sold in the US and we actually heard deposition evidence from John Arnold. I don't know if your listeners remember John Arnold on Surf and Ski on Grenfell Street.
Yeah.
A real icon. He's in his, late 70s, 80s now. Lives a bit of time overseas and still calls Adelaide home. He gave evidence saying that Ugg boots were being sold in the US, were commonly known in the US as well, which sort of strengthens our argument, but all that evidence was knocked out. We weren't even allowed to use the term generic during the trial. That's how tough it was for Eddie legally.
So the doctrine of international equivalency, so that would be like if someone in Australia took out a patent on, or decided to would trademark apple pie and said, it might be what they call it generically in America, but here in Australia, McGains are all that can call it that. I get that much. You've established the history of the use of the term as generic in Australia. You don't know the specific reasons that it was rejected by the court. What's your best guess? What did the other side put forward to challenge what you guys had said about the history of the term?
Well, they didn't. When they were challenged by one of the appeal court judges, they couldn't answer it. I think what the appeal court has done, again, I'm guessing, is that they said, look, there are other precedents on this. We don't want to challenge it. We don't want to rock the boat, leave it up to the Supreme Court. We're not going to rock the boat here. But the argument of Deckers, which I think is absurd, is that they say that the doctrine of foreign equivalence means that if a term is generic in another country, such as sake in Japan or halloumi in Cyprus or feta in Greece or champagne in France, you can't trademark it in the US or in a lot of other countries around the world. But they said that the doctrine of foreign equivalence means that it only applies to foreign language countries, not English-speaking language countries. And one of the judges, basically said, pull the other one. But then 3 days later, they came out and said, too bad, we've knocked out your appeal with no reasons given.
So will you take it to the Supreme Court, Nick?
Well, we're going to try. We're going to try, but I don't think we're going to have a real chance, unless the Australian government intervenes to say there are national interest considerations. I mean, Eddie's doing this not just for himself, and this is just upended his life. This has ruined his life. He's doing it for every Ugg boot maker in the country, because the analysis he's seen from the Association of sheepskin boot makers is that you could create up to 4,000 jobs in this country if the term wasn't trademarked in the US. We could have a great export industry, creating good jobs for Australians and exporting them. But right now, Eddie is funding his appeal by basically selling, one pair of Ugg boots at a time to fund the appeal for his US lawyers.
You should have called Pamela Anderson as a witness, Nick, because didn't she, when she came to Australia, she freaked out and said, "Oh wow, these arsies have got these amazing boots called Ugg boots," and she became like the face of Ugg boots for a while there.
I think maybe for Deckers, but I think she would have got good fees for that. I'm not sure what happened there, but I don't know whether Pamela Anderson would have carried much weight. As stunning as a witness she would have been. She would have been a very.
You haven't got a phone number.
And I think I'll leave it that way. But it's a big issue. So I know we've got the budget on today, but this won't go away, and that's why I'll be writing to Michaelia Cash, the Federal Attorney General, to say let's get behind this, because I've written previously to Christian Porter. Didn't get much of a response from him, but I'm hoping that
a bit on his
with
plate,
the
I
new
guess.
Attorney General.
There used to be a bloke that was in politics, Nick. He definitely would have taken up the cudgels on this case.
Yeah. What happened to him?
I don't know what you're talking about now.
Hey, the writs are going to close reasonably soon for the next state election, Nick. You're not starting to get sort of, that feeling in the pit of your stomach that maybe you'll have another crack?
No, I just want to do talkback radio again, but no one will let me.
Oh, hang on. So
We'll always have you on.
This is an audition. You snuck that one by us.
Hey, I'm having my AstraZeneca vaccine this afternoon. What are you doing at 6 a.m. tomorrow if I come down feeling oomy?
I had mine, and I felt pretty lousy 24 hours, but then it was okay. I've still got the second shot in 2 and a bit months' time, so we'll wait and see. But watch those symptoms from the 4th to the 26th day.
Okay.
But you should be fine.
Good on you, Nick. Good to speak to you.
See you later.
Stay in touch on this case, and we'll get an update when some clarity comes from the federal government from it. 28 minutes after 8, time for Fuel Watch, thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Petrol is now back into the mid-high $1.20s for most of Adelaide. You get it cheapest, $1.23 at the OTR on North East Road at Foster's Road, $1.22 at the United Melrose Park on South Road, $1.21 at the Mobile on the corner of Grange Road and Welland Avenue in Welland. It has been a morning for $1.69 though at a couple of Coles Express servos. We've got 2 real-time fuel pricing apps that Lucy's working on out there. $1.69 at the one on Grand Junction Road between South Road and Hanson Road, and on the corner of Main North Road and McIntyre Road in Salisbury East. It could be a sign, and Lucy's pretty good at watching this kind of stuff for indicators. It could be a sign that there is petrol about to go up. We'll keep an eye on it for you in Fuel Watch with Dave Potter Honda at this time each and every morning.
What starts with A and ends with E? Supplements for you and me.
FIVEaa health supplements are now available at leading chemists and health food stores nationwide. Ask for FIVEaa at your favourite pharmacy.
Have you heard of Amplifon, the hearing care professionals? Experience the Ampli Mini hearing aids with a free 14-day trial for a difference you can hear, not see. Call 13MY-EARS, that's 13 69 32 77 to book your free trial with Amplifon today.
Chardonnay, it's one of the most widely planted grape varieties in Australia, and it thrives in the Adelaide Hills. So the Adelaide Hills wine region invites you to join in on Chardonnay May.
I'll tell you what, the Japanese ambassador, he's probably been up there. He loves it. He can't get enough of it.
Oh, absolutely.
South Australian wine. Now, there's still a couple of weekends left in May, so escape to the hills to enjoy wine flights at Lobethal Road, Ashton Hills, Shaw and Smith and Murdoch Hill, to name just a few.
Head up to Pike and Joyce on the weekend of the 15th for its Shardy Party in their new tasting room, or try a sophisticated take on a pub crawl at Howard's Shardy Crawl on the 15th.
And foodies can see what dishes really make Hill Shardy sing with a 6-course Chardonnay dinner from Cape Barren Wines, or a green room dinner at Deviation Road, and a yum char lunch at the Sterling Hotel.
This all sounds incredible. For the complete list of venues and special events, go to chardonnaymay.com.au.
Hi, Miles Fitzner here, and here's something refreshing for you. 4 of the most desirable vehicle brands in one beautiful location in SA. The beautiful Barossa is home to Ford, Kia, Volkswagen and Honda. With over 100 vehicles for immediate delivery, go and ask for Justin Wood, and he may even lead you to a local gem of a winery. Trust me, he'd know. Barossa Auto Group, Murray Street, Tanunda and Nuriuppa, barossagroup.com.au, or call Justin on 8563 2045.
MVD 182170.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 16 today with the 8:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Keep your body in shape with Physio Extra Clinical Pilates and group exercise classes. PhysioExtra.com.
Tonight's budget will show Australia has made a significant recovery from the COVID downturn. The deficit is likely to be around $53 billion lower, driven by a major jobs boost. The federal government will outline a series of spending measures to continue the economic momentum. Finance Minister Simon Birmingham has told Nine we're in a good position compared to other countries.
We want to make sure that we keep people safe, which is why we're being so cautious in things like international borders. We want to keep their jobs safe, which is why tonight there will be investment to make sure we keep the economy strong against that backdrop of huge global uncertainty, but also investing in the essential services Australians expect, like aged care and disability care.
It's a big day for students in years 3, 5, 7 and 9, with NAPLAN tests getting underway. Last year's tests were postponed due to the pandemic. Education Minister John Gardner says it'll be especially significant for some.
For our year 7s, this is the last time they'll be doing NAPLAN in a primary school setting, with, of course, year 7 moving to high school next year. So it's another special rite of passage for this year's cohort of year 7s.
A routine traffic stop at Carolta Park has turned into a drug bust. Senior Constable Jen Cullinan says a car was stopped on Tennyson Street just after 4 a.m.
Checks revealed that the driver was disqualified from driving. They've searched the car and they've located some GHB together with some drug paraphernalia.
The driver and sole occupant of the car, a 36-year-old woman from Parafield Gardens, has been arrested. The subject of deregulated shop trading hours in SA is headed for a referendum. The Marshall government wants the question put to voters at the March 2022 election. Treasurer Rob Lucas says we need a decision on the issue.
Let the people decide on this issue as to whether they want to join the rest of Australia and basically have shopping hours being available on Boxing Day and on Easter Monday and early on Sunday mornings if traders want to trade.
Retail spending in March was up 2.2% on this time last year due to spiked spending on household goods at department stores and in restaurants. Supermarket spending is down. But the Australian Retailers Association's Fleur Brown says there is a clear reason for that.
There was a lot of panic buying going on in the supermarkets in particular versus March 2021 when things are a lot calmer and a little bit closer to normal trading conditions.
Qantas is offering a one-off scenic flight for the upcoming supermoon later this month. For $500, the 3-hour trip will depart from Sydney and climb 43,000 feet above the clouds for a closer viewing of the rare event. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
It's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Port Adelaide is a chance to blood youngster Sam Hayes for this Saturday night's blockbuster clash against the Western Bulldogs at Adelaide Oval. The Power are almost certainly to be without Scott Lycett, with the big man set to front the tribunal for his tackle on Crows midfielder Ned McHenry. Head of footy, Chris Davies, telling Rowie they've got a decision to make.
You know, we're going to have to bring either Laddams or Hayes into the team in order for them to ruck, and our mids are going to have their work cut out for them.
The Power will also closely monitor the fitness of Dan Houston after he hurt his shoulder and was subbed out against the Crows. Meantime, Adelaide will be without Lockie Murphy for at least a couple of months after scans confirmed the small forward is suffering syndesmosis. Still on footy in Richmond, Shai Bolton will miss up to 3 weeks after he fractured his wrist in a nightclub fight. Daniel Rioli also involved in the dust-up after a man behaved inappropriately towards his girlfriend. Coach Damien Hardwick has defended his players, who are unlikely to be sanctioned. Fulham has joined Sheffield United and West Brom in being relegated from the English Premier League following a 2-0 loss to Burnley. Alex de Minaur is out of the Italian Open in Rome after he went down in straight sets in his opening round match to local Gianluca Marga. John Millman and Ilya Tomljanovic will be in action later tonight. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
Sync on heavy delays this morning, Crafers West, the freeway down track. That's near Measdays Bridge. Inbound lane is closed for works, and big delays Citybound. Leave early if you're heading that way. Also delays on the up track around Crafers too. Getting busy, Southern Expressway to South Road and Cross Road at South Road. Speed cameras today, Ryde Street, Evanston, South Terrace, Adelaide and Marion Road at Firle. At the Mazda Moment, end of financial year sale, the moment to make it yours is now. Visit your Mazda dealer to arrange a test drive today. There isn't a moment to lose. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
A top of 16 for your Tuesday and cloudy. Tomorrow sunny and 17. Thursday a shower or two, 18. Right now it's 13 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
QCO is celebrating 67 years as a family-owned South Australian business, and we want to celebrate with you. Shower screens, mirrors, tapware, bathroom accessories, and even the kitchen sink have been discounted. Plus, specials on all the top brands like Caroma, Dorf, Phoenix, Decina, Timberline and ADP, just to name a few. Visit our large showroom and celebrate our 67 years as a South Australian family business. QCO, reflecting your good taste. 270 Brighton Road, Somerton Park.
During National Volunteer Week, from the third Monday in May, we want to thank our almost 1 million SA volunteers. Take part by decorating your home or office in red, take a picture or video, and follow Volunteering SA and NT on socials.
It's the details that make the difference in Zip Track Outdoor Blinds by Country. Like the heat welding we use on the splines of our blinds instead of stitching. Heat welding permanently bonds the fabric together and can't rot or fail like stitching does, so your blinds look neater and last longer. Outdoor Zip Track blinds, made best by Country. Now let's make it for you. Visit countryblinds.com.au for a free measuring quote.
Then I saw her face.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 minutes to 9. David Penberthy's off to get his AstraZeneca shot a little bit later today. 1:30 today. That's 1:30, isn't it?
Yep.
Booked in, ready to go.
I was lucky because I got in a couple of weeks ago. The SA Health has now said that there's a wait of 3 months, although they're hoping that more will come on as the process is sped up over the next few weeks. But a 3-month wait is a long time.
Let's hope it gets sped up. The Health Minister, Stephen Wade, joins us now on 5AA Breakfast. Minister, good morning.
Morning, David and Will.
That is correct, isn't it, Minister? That was the quote in this morning's Tiser, that currently it is a three-month wait to get into Wayville.
That was the case yesterday, but additional bookings have been made available at Adelaide Showgrounds. So I'm told that the wait is actually currently a matter of days. For example, I went on to the SA Health website today using the Vaccine Clinic Finder, and I could find 4 clinics within the close proximity of Adelaide CBD that could vaccinate me within 2 days, including the SA Health Clinic at Women's and Children's, and it was showing that the Wayville site was within 7 days. So since the update yesterday, there has been more bookings that have been made available. I think it's really important for people to appreciate that bookings will be updated constantly. The Commonwealth website says that. Keep checking back. If there's not a booking available that's convenient to you, they suggest coming back each week. So we're currently, as I said, experiencing a 2-day delay at Women's and Children's and a 7-day booking availability at the Adelaide Showground site.
So the new capacity that's been created, is that because more personnel have been put on? Are the hours working different? What's changed?
Yeah, I don't have clarity in terms of that, but certainly let's be clear. This was the first day of a max vaccination clinic. It's a nation-leading initiative. South Australia continues to lead the nation. We provided Australia's first AstraZeneca clinic, and yesterday we delivered Australia's first dual-stream mass vaccination clinic. It provides both Pfizer and AstraZeneca. In terms of the Pfizer, that's been going since the 30th of April, and there are, I'm advised, 1,000 appointments still available at the Adelaide Showgrounds for Pfizer. So I'd stress, particularly for South Australians under the age of 50 with comorbidities, you are eligible to get the Pfizer vaccine at the Adelaide Showgrounds now. It also includes Phase 1B, also includes people like health professionals, people in the community who might be involved in allied health or the like. So there's plenty of appointments available there. AstraZeneca, which is particularly for people over the age of 50, we've only just started Phase 2A, which is that cohort. That is where we've got the if you like, the pressure on appointments. But currently, Adelaide Showgrounds is providing 800 appointments a week. They're hoping to go up to 1,200 next week. But I think it's really important that we take this slow and steady. We have a top priority for safety, and that means that we won't expand a clinic until we're completely confident that everything's working right and that we can deliver those additional vaccines safely.
Where's that gone wrong? Is there any evidence that anywhere on earth it's gone wrong because people tried to roll it out too quickly?
Well, certainly there have been reports of significant adverse events overseas, but the Australian vaccine program has had a high priority on safety, and the adverse events that we're experiencing are within the normal bands of people's reaction to vaccines. Of course, every vaccine involves the risk of an adverse event. So, for example, yesterday at the Adelaide Showgrounds, I was talking to the clinic manager. They've got ambulance staff on hand in case something does go wrong. But this is because we are very committed to safety. We are very keen to make sure that people have confidence in not only the vaccines themselves, but in our safe delivery of the vaccines to them.
So at the current rate that it's being rolled out, and with everything that you know, when would you expect that everyone who could be vaccinated will be vaccinated?
Well, I don't want to set a target. What I do want to strive for is to make sure that every South Australian who wants a vaccine has the opportunity to be vaccinated by the end of the year. It is really important that people step up and get vaccinated. We're in a very different situation to UK and Europe, where there is high levels of community transmission. We're in a situation where we have no community transmission in Australia, and we're trying to persuade people to step up and get vaccinated. I would urge people that even though we don't have COVID cases in our community at the moment, the vaccination program is the doorway to leaving this pandemic behind us. It's really important that you step up and get vaccinated. As I said, there are plenty of vaccines opportunities available for people under the age of 50 with comorbidities, in other words, with other medical conditions. So I would certainly be urging those people to step up.
Minister, are you going to look personally into the case of 93-year-old Agatha Tigerman, the lady who was ramped at the Royal Adelaide for around 3 hours yesterday?
I certainly will be seeking more information, and also what I'll be asking the question about is whether we need to expand the time frames for our alternative care pathways. The lady whose case was highlighted yesterday, to me, seemed like a classic case where the care might have been able to be provided at a priority care centre. Priority care centres don't open until 10 o'clock because that's when we normally expect the demand on the day. So what we had at the Royal Adelaide yesterday was a particularly early demand at the hospital. So I'm told that at the same time that the lady was at the Royal Adelaide Hospital, there was a number of urgent walk-ins and 3 code stroke emergencies. So that was unusual. The same issue applies to the Urgent Mental Health Care Centre. When we had the mental health workshop a couple of weeks ago, people said the Urgent Mental Health Care Centre is great, but could we expand the hours? So I think that is something the government needs to look at. But we are determined to provide timely care. There will be surges. We need to have a system that copes with the surges when they come.
It feels like a bit of a lack of judgment all round there, leaving that woman in the ambulance for so long when she was clearly distressed. I mean, she's suffering from symptoms of dementia and she was very distressed. I don't know why someone just couldn't get her out.
Well, as I said, the emergency department was coping with 3 code strokes at the time,
yeah.
a number of urgent walk-ins. But I do not discount the fact at all that the lady and her family were distressed. Delayed care is distressing. We certainly do everything we can to minimise the delays. But I think it's important to stress too that she was always under the care of a highly qualified professional. The paramedic on the ramp. She was transferred to the ED and, of course, was receiving care from the nurses within the ED. But the delays are regrettable, and I certainly appreciate that. Particularly people with dementia would find that experience both disorienting and distressing.
Just to that final point, is it your desire that we recalibrate our expectations of public health in South Australia and accept that ramping's simply part of the care process?
Not at all. What I think we need to recalibrate our expectations is where care's delivered. So, for example, we are going to have a continuing growing community of people with dementia. But it's much more appropriate for them to get care in a place which is not distressing, which is calming. That's why we've got on the South Coast we've got community paramedics reaching into nursing homes to provide care there, rather than transferring the patient to a hospital. That's why we've got My Home hospitals, so that both at nursing homes and in the community, older South Australians and in fact all South Australians can have access to hospital-level care within their own home. Particularly in a pandemic environment, the hospital is actually a risk. The risk for older people is not only infectious disease, it's also a degeneration of their muscle capacity. If people are in a hospital, in bed, not mobile, it can often lead to significant reduction in their muscle strength. So providing care at home has lots of benefits, particularly for people with dementia.
Health Minister Stephen Wade, thanks very much for joining us this morning on 5AA.
Thanks, Stephen. Will.
13 minutes to 9. We've got 2 texts in a row here on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line. I think you provide a bit of an insight into the nature of the rollout of the COVID vaccine in South Australia. Kirsty says, I'm eligible for 1B, health worker under the age of 50. Booked waiver last night for this Friday. Plenty of times available. As the Minister just told us, they've added a whole heap of new times overnight. So there is
since the SA Health quote was given about a 3-month wait.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Then the next text says, I'm in Group 1A and can't get into my GP as there are just 250 vaccinations a week. That's the allocation. I prefer to go there in case I feel unwell after. I feel put off having it.
My one respectful criticism of that interview with Stephen Wade then, I didn't like him saying slow and steady about the vaccine rollout. I think people aren't dropping like flies being vaccinated. There's been a handful of cases, and as he said himself, they're in line with the routine adverse reactions people have to any vaccine. So nothing specific to AstraZeneca. So if that's the case, given that vaccinating the maximum number of people is the key to fully reopening the economy and resuming as much of normal life as we can, rather than slow and steady, I'd say go like the clappers should be the approach.
Yeah, and
Don't you reckon?
it strikes me as odd that when we've received a play-by-play of every blood clotting issue that's taken place, despite there being just 5 in a million, and it being statistically considered insignificant by all the people that look at this kind of stuff, we haven't had the same sort of analysis that's been done of what are the apparent adverse reactions to rolling it out far too quickly.
Yeah.
But apparently we've just been told, well, believe us, they're out there. Well, that's, I mean, what are we going to suggest now? The media's underreporting adverse effects.
Yeah.
I haven't heard them. I'm not sure who's gotten sick from it in the UK or the US.
The blood clots that have happened in relation to the COVID vaccine are the most discussed blood clots in the history of blood clotting.
Yeah, but we're being asked to believe there are other adverse reactions that haven't been discussed.
But at a point where you've still got, like, pubs and clubs are being told, up 75%, like, the economy is not back to normal yet. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can't do. We can't leave the country without jumping through a million hoops and only going to certain locations. So, you know, and we've seen with the more skittish premiers, WA being the worst offenders, that as long as there's still going to be cases, you're still going to have trigger-happy premiers shutting the joint down.
Yep.
So, forget slow and steady.
I agree. All right, it's time to check traffic thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal on 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles. That's Dave Potter Honda.
A smash, Modbury North, McIntyre Road near Milne Road. 3 cars involved there. That is outbound. Crayfors West, the freeway down track near Measdays Bridge. A lane closed for works. Delays from Stirling to Mount Osmond City bound. A praying at Mount Jagged this morning. Crow's Nest Road near Victor Harbour Road. Single vehicle collision there. Take some care. And getting busy South Road at Henley Beach Road and Portrush Road to Paynham Road. For any change in season, Totally Workwear has the workwear you need. For King G, Hard Yakka, Steel Blue, Oliver and more, head to Totally Workwear, Australia's largest workwear supplier. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Varlo. It means light. The perfect description of the new light-filled apartments at West. With views of Linear Park and the Grange Golf Club. Cycle or stroll Linear Park. Play a round of golf, paddle on the lake, grab a coffee on Charles Street or hit the beach. Whether you're staying in or going out, Varlo at West has it all. Choose from an exciting range of 2 or 3 bedroom apartments now and bring your dreams to light at Varlo. Visit varlowest.com.au.
Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift.
When you need a forklift, don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Get the world's #1 forklift brand. Get legendary Toyota reliability. Get world-leading safety and get it from toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get the Toyota Forklift Advantage for sales, service and hire.
Get a Toyota forklift.
Is it time to update your air? Today's Mitsubishi Electric reverse cycle air conditioners provide up to 5-star heating performance. Now that is impressive. Plus, for a limited time, you can cash in with a bonus gift card when you purchase a select Mitsubishi Electric split or ducted system. Terms and conditions apply. For all the info, visit mitsubishielectric.com.au or pop into your local Mitsubishi Electric dealer and ask about our bonus gift card offer. Mitsubishi Electric. Works for me.
You might think having thousands of pals is excessive, but that's not what the team at Parafield Airport Liquor Store think, because that's how many they have. Sure, they might be made up of over 100 gins, over 200 whiskies, over 300 craft beers, and over 2,000 boutique wines. But they're some of the best pals you could have, and they're always looking for more, even if they are tricky to track down. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
Yeah, keep coming, keep coming. Left, Barry.
I am going left. Meet Bev and Barry, grey nomads with 10,000 Ks on their caravan and counting.
No, the other left.
That would be right, Bev.
Just park the van.
I would, love, if you gave me the right direction. Walker Crash Repairs may not be able to fix their little arguments, but they can fix their pride and joy if something does happen. Walker Crash Repairs, an RAA-approved crash repairer for caravans and cars.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 to 9, our first referendum in 30 years is going to be held at the next state election, which is March next year. It's not that far away. To the question of whether shop trading hours should be deregulated, we've just had a little trial run this morning on 5AA Breakfast. Your votes will stop being counted in the next couple of minutes, and Lucy will come in with the ultimate assessment on what the 5AA Breakfast audience thinks. That's coming up in just a moment.
Count every vote, Lucy. We don't want to...
Exactly.
We don't want to repeat last year's presidential elections.
Yeah. It's funny. 94% of the votes that have just come in have all been for yes.
That's right. A lot of late votes coming in from Georgia and Arizona.
Yeah, at all 4 a.m. Suddenly they came in.
Count every vote.
Yeah, funny. It's time to go behind closed doors thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions. Interstate freight, distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64.
And when we get behind closed...
13.95, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Mike Keelan's Gardening Show.
Right, and welcome back to Michael Keelan's... Right.
Oh, sorry, I was singing.
Michael Keelan's Gardening Show. I'm going to ignore Angie singing over the intro because that's a little bit too much fun for me, I can tell you. I'm probably not smiling either, which will certainly give Angie the message that I don't like that sort of thing on this show. John Blake might put up with Angie singing on the air, but I run a tight ship. Anyway, welcome back to Michael Keelan's Gardening Show. It used to be Michael Keelan's Weekend, but that involved, talking about all sorts of things that aren't gardening, like talking to performing arts people and sporting people. Well, I have no interest in that, so now I just talk gardening.
Michael, just quickly.
Oh, yes, Angie.
I just want to mention that because you're on till 11 o'clock, it'll be after that. After that, there'll be the Sunday roast with Sam Tugwell and KG at midday.
Right, KG will be in a good mood. He'd be very pleased with the Crows' performance last night, I would have thought.
Ah, do you think?
Well, I think so. They didn't embarrass themselves. It's a pretty good performance. I think KG would be very happy with them.
It was 12 goals 15 to 5 goals 8, Michael.
Yeah, that's right. And I think he'd be pleased with that. And it's patently obvious now why we changed this to Michael Keelan's Gardening Show, because there's a dearth of knowledge in my brain when it comes to sport, obviously.
It's Mother's Day, Michael.
Oh, it sure is, Angie, and everybody would be out and about today, going to their local nursery or garden centre and looking for a lovely gift for their mum.
Oh, yes.
There's nothing that says, I love you, Mum, thanks for nurturing me and loving me unconditionally, than a nice big bottle of seaweed extract solution.
Oh.
Mum would love that. Or a bottle of sea salt, that's much the same thing. Wrap it up and give it to Mum. I'm sure she'd be very pleased if you gave her some of that.
Maybe, Michael. What about a bunch of flowers?
Yes, or you could give her a nice container of Roundup.
Roundup?
Well, you can't go wrong for your dear old mum on Mother's Day with a gift made by Monsanto, that great company that, to their credit, always denied that Roundup is carcinogenic. And it's always nice to know that when you give your mum a lovely gift for Mother's Day, that it probably doesn't cause cancer.
And they did pay out millions of dollars in compensation too, Michael, so they did the right thing.
That's right, yeah. The perfect way to say, I love you, Mum.
My mum would love all of those Christmas gifts. She's a Mother's Day gift. She's an excellent mad gardener.
All
I'd
right.
like them too, but I'm not eligible for Mother's Day.
Lucy's in the studio.
Well, I don't know. In these zany times, maybe I am.
Yeah.
If I just identify as wanting to be a Mother's Day gift recipient.
I think.
Why not?
No one can argue with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Dave, you get Father's Day later on in the year.
Or maybe I want both.
Oh, that's fair enough.
One of the benefits of...
How old-fashioned thinking of you, Lucy. Well, you just looked at him and thought, well, there's a father.
That's right. I assumed.
Yeah, I know.
Presumptuous.
Very dangerous. Now, you have some hard data there on the FIVEaa breakfast referendum question for us. What have you found out?
Well, we've had over 500 votes this morning on the show through our Twitter poll, calls, texts, Facebook live stream comments, and we've rounded it all up. The total yes vote, 67%.
67%. That's a resounding...
So it hasn't really altered in the last...
Two-thirds majority.
Hour and a half, I reckon. We were kind of sitting at that earlier. We've just had more votes. Interestingly, the Twitter-only poll jumped up a slight bit. 77% have said yes on Twitter.
Nearly 4/5. Crikey.
That's it. Calls, texts and comments. Still, the no voters got up there. That was 56% for no.
Okay. Lucy, great info. Thank you for compiling that for us. 2 to 9.
Ray White Business Sales SA and Business SA. Both are experts at what they do, so they've formed an alliance to help you. Whether you're buying or selling a business or somewhere in between, they'll work together, making sure the business you're going to sell or buy is in top shape. Ray White Business Sales SA and Business SA. Experts in business support and sales. Ready to help you achieve your goals. Call them today. 8300 0000.
Roller blinds by Country are custom made to be the best, right down to the details. Like the stronger aluminium top tubes we use. Bigger, stiffer top tubes don't sag, so Country can create wider span single blinds. The result is stronger, streamlined blinds for a cleaner designer look in your home. Roller blinds made best by Country. Now let's make it for you. Visit countryblinds.com.au for a free measuring quote.
The best of both worlds. That's all anyone ever wants, even in retirement. With Southern Cross Care, you can have exactly that and live between the coast and the city at their wonderful O'Grady Court community in North Plympton.
There's affordable one-bedroom unit starting from just $85,900. They feature open-plan living, modern kitchens, spacious bathrooms. Plus, you'll also have access to services next door at the Pines Health and Wellness Centre and to the vibrant on-site community centre of John Martin House.
Not only is this where many social and community groups gather, it's also the beautiful bluestone building and original home of the John Martin family, but extended and refurbished for use by residents.
It is beautiful what they've done there. For more information about O'Grady Court, visit southerncrosscare.com.au or call 1800 852 772. That number again, 1800 852 772.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
It's right on 9 o'clock. That's all from us on this Tuesday morning. All our federal budget coverage will come tomorrow morning. We're going to do a whip around with a host of interest groups here in South Australia. It is going to be the most Adelaide-centric, South Australia-centric budget coverage you're going to hear anywhere in the country.
As is always the case with
exactly
everything
right.
we do.
That's right. It's all
See
we
you
care
tomorrow.
about. In fact, the rest of the country can get stuffed. Leon Biner's coming up, and we'll see you tomorrow at 6.
Hopefully.